Welcome back to another episode of the Open Task Podcast. I'm Calvin Smith with my main man, Joe Carlos. Joe, how you doing?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
I'm well. And our special guest here back for another round of playoff picks and other banter, Chris Lee. Chris, how you doing?
I'm good. Greetings, my
Excellent,
friends.
excellent. It's always
Greetings,
good to
greetings,
be
greetings.
amongst friends, amongst brothers. You know, when Morehouse men gather, why wouldn't you want to be there? A great man said that.
Exactly. How
uh,
wonderful. How wonderful.
Wonderful indeed, man. So
Yes.
a lot has transpired. We
You,
made selections. We will talk about the outcome of those selections a little later.
yeesh.
No, I wouldn't have that. Nobody's gonna be perfect this year, which is fine, you know.
No, Chris is hurt because nobody's perfect.
Well, you know, it happens. It happens. But
True.
I want to start out by just talking about Joe. You're prolific on, if I may say so, social media wise. You know,
Narcissistic is a better
yeah,
word.
you know,
Thank you.
there's the pockets of like Sopranos and you know a lot of ins and outs and what have yous. But you know, anybody that knows you has the honor to know you knows that you are a fantastic photographer.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you.
if
Thank
if
you.
I may say, you know, one of the highlights of my winter break was walking into my godfather Ed Bowen's birthday party and seeing that the photography was done by you, you know,
Thank
walking
you.
around that corner and seeing you with the camera in hand doing what you do so well. Uh, Fantastic.
Thank you.
Um, but you know, one of those things is you're always learning and always on your craft, and you follow some of the best photographers in the world. And it just so happens that one of those photographers, Walter Yost, interacted with you on the comments of what really amounted to a painful moment for you in your you know
Yeah.
what do you call those core memories? Uh,
Yes.
talk to us about that interaction, how that came to be, man.
So thank you, Calvin, for that. And hey, Chris, great to obviously have this time with you again. Boy. So Walter Yost, legendary sports photographer, but legendary Sports Illustrated photographer. And for those of you, I think most of our core listeners are old enough to know what a what a magazine is and
Mm-hmm.
what Sports Illustrated was as a magazine and how important that was. But moreover, it's interesting because you can now kind of Walter Yost has got to be almost 90 years old, at least in his 80s. And I'd never imagined a situation wherein I'd be able to comment on Walter Yost's on a picture of a photo of Walter Yost's, and he would see it. So he took a picture, probably his most famous picture. I'm sure it's the most famous picture, the photo of the catch, which actually the full catch is shot in more of a landscape. And Sports Illustrated used one portion of that landscape photo and for the iconic cover that became obviously more larger than life of the catch of Dwight Clark, the photo of Dwight Clark catching the ball from Joe Montana in the 1982 NFC championship game played after the 1980, well, at the conclusion of the 81 season. Um, and and so I saw the picture and I looked and I thought to myself, sometimes when you're taking pictures, particularly of sports, man, you don't know if you got the shot at all. But now everything's digital. So these games this weekend on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, there'll be photographers everywhere. There's basketball games tonight. People are taking pictures. They know it immediately. They know what they have in the moment. They've got it. You can look down, you see it. But then, man, that's film. That's 35 millimeter film, and you have no idea. And so what's so crazy about it too is, as I was thinking about that, I watched video. I watched the video of the catch probably like 10 times this week, and all we had was the 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 TV footage of the catch, right? So it's the TV footage is from above. This is like 1982 way of shooting.
Mm-hmm. They were
Shooting
in those wells in the end zone corners, like yeah,
exactly. There were like
yeah.
four, maybe six cameras, maybe eight, but they were just shooting from like really much one angle, and
Mm-hmm.
it did not do any justice to what later became the catch. So
Yeah.
Yost posts a picture. I comment under. I asked him, "Hey, did you know you had it?" And man, he comes back and says no. He
Yeah.
just kind of closed his eyes. You don't know what you did. And he said he didn't even know he had it until he saw it on the SI cover on Thursday. Now, for anyone that doesn't understand, Sports Illustrated came out on Thursdays. This is the photographer, the main photographer, really, for Sports Illustrated at the
Mm.
time. And he was a legend already at that point. And he didn't even know he had the shot until he saw the cover photo of the magazine it's just crazy to me. And
Yeah.
so when he mentioned the trepidation or the fear uh, that was running through, I understood what he was saying. Like, hey, I had no idea. I just shot it. I saw it. I clicked the button. You shoot. And any person who's a photographer, not any person who has a camera, but any person who's a photographer understands that sometimes you have no clue what you got until you come back and you look like, come on, all I need is one, 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 one. I remember the movie The Paper, the Ron Howard film, The Paper in '94. If any of you ever saw that,
Oh
there was
yeah.
a perp walk, and all they needed was one shot, and everything was blurry, 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 boom, boom. They found the one shot, they cropped in to what they needed, and they got it. And
Yeah.
and hearing Walter Yost, one of my heroes, one of my photo heroes, and I urge you to go look up Walter Yost. That's Walter, but IOOSS.
Yeah.
Walter Yost. And thank you, Calvin, of course, ever, ever the cruciverbalist that would come up with the. And I know Chris is looking up cruciverbalist. Ever the ever the cruciverbalist, knowing how to properly pronounce the gentleman's name, because I've been saying it wrong for 50 years. But it was just amazing for me for him to respond, man. And I was just floored that he responded. And the thing was, I remember when I got my Sports Illustrated that in '82 when we got ours, I was just you were sad again. I was 7 years
Yeah.
old. My team lost in dramatic fashion,
Yeah.
and in my world, we were all fans of the team, so we were all sad. I
Yeah.
was growing up in Dallas in the first grade. We're all sad, and so it was really just kind of it brought it all back for a moment. But now I'm so far removed now that I could definitely appreciate the art and the effort that went into just capturing the moment, and
Sure.
and yet still knowing that there's a linear line of uncertainty. I don't want to say fear, but just uncertainty that when you take those pictures, you don't know what you got until it's in the can, man, and until you look at it again, you really don't know what you got.
Yeah.
So
Now, Chris, what's your
thank you
no
for
problem, man. No, no, no. I knew
giving me
as
that
soon as
moment.
it happened, I was like, we have to talk. We have to kind of hash this out. Chris, what's your you had knowledge of Walter Yost? Like what's your feel about him?
Well, I did not have knowledge about him until we did our pre-production discussions, and just from the cursory research that I was able to do, I did not realize he had taken many of the pictures that I thought were incredible and amazing over time. And learning from Joe that he was the principal photographer for Sports Illustrated, and so that was just fascinating to see the person behind the camera and the eye to those pictures that have
Yeah.
been iconic over time.
Yeah. I so much like Joe, my grandfather was a dentist. Both grandfathers actually were dentists. They had offices that had Sports Illustrated. You know what I mean? So Sports Illustrated was a big part of my upbringing. Being able to look at the photos, like the iconic photos as Joe mentioned, and it didn't really occur to me, who was doing those photography or who was doing that photography for a very long time until I really got into collecting cards, collecting baseball cards, football cards, what have you. And I'll never forget there was a series. He had the Walter Yost collection. There, Joe. I almost said said it the whole way, but yeah, the Walter Yost collection from the 1993 Upper Deck series. And like, I mean, the photography was spectacular. Like he had all these different, like he made these baseball players who I already had a great deal of admiration for look like superheroes. You know what I mean? And then
Mhm.
so from there, I started to become conscious of it and look at the magazine and see, oh man, like this guy, the best Jordan shots, he's got them. The best, any shot that meant something at all, really. beyond the swimsuit issue, which by the way, he also did a lot of that too. You know,
Yes, he did.
he did it. He was their man.
And Rare Air. And Rare Air. See, I think
Yeah.
I know people Rare Air was that was the other one. Like, so if you say Rare Air, people are like, oh, okay. I'm sure a lot of people, particularly our ages from our range,
Mhm.
from Chris to me, with you there right in the middle, the people would know Rare Air because that was really the first book,
Yeah.
that the first photo book of, if I recall, like seriously, at least in my lifetime at that time, of a player in his prime,
Yeah.
and he wasn't really in his prime. Like, I don't, Rare Air was published. I gotta look to see.
1990.
Yeah,
So he wasn't even.
he hadn't even won a championship yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you think about that, but this unique talent, it was understandable that this was such a unique thing,
Yeah.
that Michael Jordan was so unique that they needed the best photographer from Sports Illustrated, the best sports photographer in the world, to shoot the best basketball player of all time. And
Yeah.
and he was only like 5-6 years into the career,
Yeah.
which is just,
like a coffee table book. Like,
yes, which is
Yeah.
just amazing if you think about
Yeah.
it right now.
Yeah.
I can't. It's very difficult to try to describe, but that book was very, very important, and everybody I knew had the book. I was not a Jordan fan. I wasn't a Jordan fan, and I talked to Calvin about that for a very long,
Yeah.
on several occasions. I was not a Jordan fan at all,
Yeah.
because his first 3 championships he went up against Michael, Clyde, and Charles, and those
Yeah.
were 3 of my
Or
favorites.
Magic, Clyde, and Charles.
Excuse me, yeah, Magic Clyde. I apologize, Magic Clyde and Charles, and those were 3 of my favorite players. And he went up against Isaiah, who
Yeah.
was that's I mean, the four are right there.
Yeah.
Right? Then Mark Aguirre is there too, so that's 5.
Yeah.
And he went up against Mark too. Shoot, so that's 5.
Yeah.
So that was, I was like, nah, I'm good. On the second run, the 96, 97, 98, sure. I got no dogs in the fight. So
Yeah.
I'm here for you.
Yeah.
Particularly 98.
Yeah.
I came to appreciate what we had going on. But so I never got Rare Air.
Yeah.
And every dorm room, I mean, everybody I knew had that book.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's the photographer, but he did so many other iconic photographs. And for him to still be like active on social media,
Yeah.
and then respond, man,
Yeah.
every
That's
now
like
and
Oh, go ahead.
no, please.
I was gonna say that's like if Fauci responded to me, man.
Yeah.
Like that's how I feel. Like, I mean, because like all my textbooks, everything I have for internal medicine, Harrison's internal medicine has been edited by Fauci as long as I've been a physician. You know what I mean? So
A perfect analogy of that. What you just said, a perfect analogy of that. So it's so odd that now there is you break through. You can break on through to the other side, Morrison.
yeah.
And in the event that these Greek gods step down from Mount Olympus, and decide to respond, there was a picture a couple of weeks ago when Chalamet's new Dylan movie. I can't remember what it's called. I was going to say like a Rolling Stone. I know it's not right, but
No.
I May Alarm You. No, that's the old one.
Man,
Whatever.
how does it feel?
How does it? Yeah. Chalamet's new film.
Yeah.
It was a picture of Dylan and our Morehouse
A
brothers.
complete unknown.
A complete unknown. Thank you. I knew it was I knew it was like 4 lyrics.
It's from Rolling Stone.
Yeah, from the Rolling Stone. Right. So, but Spike, if you're like a fan of Spike's and you listen to Spike talk about his father, you know that Bill Lee played with pretty much with a lot of people. But he played with Dylan, right?
He did some session work with Dylan.
Yeah, with Dylan. On a number of occasions and a couple festivals and things of that nature. And so he showed a picture of the two of them. And so people are like, because most people they don't know that stuff, and they're not obsessive like I've been since 1988. They're not obsessive about that. But it was interesting when he mentioned it. So I just wrote Morehouse is truly everywhere. And he responds, yeah, man, class of 51. Da, 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 da. Like, okay.
But he knows you. He knows you.
I'm not gonna say he does.
Come on, man.
I'm not gonna say he does. I'm always introducing myself.
That's fair.
I'm always, and I will continue to do so. In my current role, I will continue to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I'm so good at it.
Always introducing myself. But
That's why you're so good at it. But I guarantee you.
I had a moment like that with John David Washington, and when they had the piano lesson was I had a screening for the piano lesson
Uh-huh.
during
Uh-huh.
Thursday of homecoming, and
Uh-huh.
he's walking. So the band is at the stadium. This is like it's twilight. It's a magic hour at Morehouse. The band is. It's a beautiful
That's the best time.
October night. I mean,
Yeah.
you couldn't paint this color
Yeah.
of just blue and gold and these amber color. It's just purple
Yeah.
amber. It's just beautiful night,
Yeah.
and it's like 68 degrees.
Uh-huh.
He's walking. You can hear the band. He's
Uh-huh.
walking through. You see all the black SUVs because Sam's in there, Deadweiler's in there, all the
Mm-hmm.
Netflix brass is in there. Like this is a big deal.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and he's walking. He's seen the movie. His brother Malcolm's in there as well. They had
Yeah.
a talk back, right? So I'm walking through because the RVs are already on. The RVs are coming in
Yeah.
on the other side of the street
Mm-hmm.
for the tailgate, which is what my thing is for the
Yeah.
Saturday, right?
Yeah.
So I'm there to look at the tailgate.
Painstakingly.
Yeah, painstakingly. Look at the tailgate, check out the tents, and I'm coming down and I look and I was like, that's John Dave Washington. Now in college we called him JD. So I said, JD, and he said, John David. I said, absolutely. I said, hey man, welcome home. Da, da, da. So we're talking for a minute. It's like no more than like 90 seconds, but we're talking about just soaking it up and taking it all in, and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I don't mind introducing myself over and over again to those luminaries. I have no problem
Sure.
doing that. I have more than enough humility to do that. Absolutely.
That's why you have that job, man.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
So we'll move on to our next topic of discussion here. I always like to around this time of year kind of take an inventory of the different commentary teams. Speaking of Sports Illustrated, one of my favorite things Dr. Z, the great Dr. Z, used to do. What was it? Z Thursdays, or whenever he would come out with his editorial.
Amazing cowboy hater, by the way. Just amazing.
He was top notch.
Amazing cowboy hater. Stephen A. Smith has nothing on Paul Zimmerman.
Yeah,
like
he was
nothing.
he was a scientific cowboy hater.
Yes, just amazing cowboy hater.
But at any rate, he must see Wednesdays, I think it was. But I'm sure my boy now will correct me because he was the one that put me on. But at any rate, I like to kind of go through the commentary teams as he used to do. Chris, did you have any familiarity with Dr. Z and his writing and working on like the things he did for Sports Illustrated, or was that a little bit before your time?
That was probably before I could appreciate it. I would get Sports Illustrated and those random collectibles they would give you, or just flip through it and look through the pictures. But
yeah, well, see, so you would have really liked him because one of his books that he wrote was called The Thinking Man's Guide to Football, and like it was one of the first really like scholarly works to look at football from the X's and O's standpoint, to break down football strategy, to really go into like some of the great coaches and all that kind of thing or whatever, right? But when Sports Illustrated made their transition to the internet, when it was CNNSI.com and then SI.com, he was one of the columns that I, thanks to my best friend Niall, will look forward to and make sure that I read. And every year he would go through each and every booth, each and every commentary team, and give them a grade. And what I love the most about him was that, like, he, and I know Joe probably feels another way about it, but he definitely didn't have any kind of bias other than maybe his Cowboys bias, and definitely didn't just pick the team of like would now be analogous to Joe and Troy, the Madden and Summerall team. That wasn't his number one team. He would make sure to highlight, the Iron Eagles of the world. Or, I'm trying to think, Dan Deardor was one of his least favorites. But usually he would call attention to some lineman who would be able to illustrate line play and talk about the different aspects of offensive line play. So, like, Chris, I want to know, in your opinion, if you had to rank the commentary teams that we had You can go regular season or you can go just playoffs, like from network to network. But who are your best and who are your worst? You don't have to rank them like individually. You can just say best and worst. That's perfectly fine.
I think it's really hard to get a definitive for me to get a definitive rank on the
Okay.
A teams. I think everybody, I think all the A teams are out there this weekend, if I remember.
Yeah, everybody has their 18s this weekend.
I like Brady. Well, no, well, I guess it's not too hard. I like Brady, and not just because of my Sunday football team, but I think he provides some insight.
Because he's been a lightning rod. He's been controversial. Brady has been one that people have been getting after.
They have. I'm still more partial. To
Really, they have.
Romo.
Where is that happening?
Oh, it's happening on the all of the Ringer network. So Bill Simmons.
He's just a hater. He builds a hater.
The Ringer Fantasy Football podcast.
They all work for Bill.
Well, okay, maybe they have Bill's agenda, but also a lot of the internet scuttlebutt. Like I'm trying to think of like a couple other people I follow just randomly, like a Ross Tucker of the world. Like when they're allowed to say stuff, have been kind of like the scuttlebutt I've been seeing has been anti-Brady. I'll put it that way.
Got it. Sorry to interrupt, Chris. I was just curious about that. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. It's all good. Now, of course, I watched the Manning cast for Monday night game because that's just an all-time favorite. I mean, to me, that's almost like inside the NBA, but it's during the game. Yeah, like it's not as jovial without the hijinks, but it's very insightful. And the guests they bring on, especially when this season when they had Bill Belichick on there. Yeah. And all of them just going back and forth, also ribbing each other about each other's games. But it's like education.
That was like going to school.
Yeah,
it was like a class, like a 30-minute or an hour-long course. The first
football 503,
and upper level. That's a graduate level class.
Yeah.
So notwithstanding, I know Manning cast isn't necessarily the traditional team, but that's my favorite. But if I absolutely have to, if there's a commentary team I'd want to hear, I like Romo and Nance.
Okay.
Romo, you hear his excitement, and he's trying to predict the game. You see where everything's going. He's bringing his perspective. It's almost like it's still fresh. It's almost like he wants to get back out there himself.
Yeah.
Herb Street, Al Michaels, I think they're just having fun. It's not bad. Not the greatest. But you can tell they like each other.
Yeah.
It's the NBC crew. Well, I'm just not a Collinsworth fan. That's where.
I guess, Chris, I can't believe.
Come on, Chris.
That's some
I guess it's not
commentary
so
there.
NBC would be the last for me.
We were just doing Collinsworth. That's all we were doing. We were doing a Collinsworth. We weren't commenting on what you were saying. We were doing
Besides, the correct way to spell Chris or Christopher is with an H anyway.
Yes, but speak to his parents.
He's not in your exclusive club, is what I gather. That's fair. He's a Florida Gator, so it stands to reason.
True.
But anyway, all right. Well, Joe, how about you, man? What are your favorite commentary teams, or like did you want to point out any of the standouts from the season that maybe weren't the A team, but no, like
I like the old Fox A team. I really like Olsen a lot. I thought he got the raw end of that deal. I hate it I hated that for Olsen. I truly did. And it's interesting because on the last Manning cast of the season, Peyton mentioned the cross pollination opportunities that they had when Collinsworth came on, and when a few others from different networks came on their ESPN, run show. And I think that really adds to the fact that, hey man, it's just football, and we all love it, and so it's the beauty of it. I do agree with Chris. As you all know, in the NFL group me, our NFL group me, every time they're cooking, I'm saying, gosh, if you're not watching this, you're wasting your time watching Aikman and Buck, who just think they're so cute. Buck thinks he's so cute. And I'm so tired of Buck. I've loved Troy, always will love Troy, all that. He's just a little negative for me. And his English, his grammar's off a little bit too. Could be this, the hits or whatever. His grammar's a little off. And so I get it. It gets on my nerves. So I really do. My favorite guys are my favorite commentators. It's not traditional, to your point, Chris, but they are Peyton and Eli.
Yeah,
And when they're doing a Monday night game, man, it's a game to watch. They only do games to watch, by the way, which is the unfortunate part of that. I'm gonna switch it up. If Iron Eagles doing a game and with Kurt Warner,
yeah,
I'm on that.
yeah,
I'm listening to that on the radio. I'm listening to Ian Eagle and Kurt Warner. I'll switch that up on you there a little bit. But if they're doing a game, I'm there. I'm listening
yeah,
to their commentary. I really like that a lot. I like how they get after it. But like I said, I like Olsen. It's Olsen and one of the Alberts
yeah. It's
or
Olsen and
Buck
like Chris Albert or one of
Chris
the like
Albert,
yeah,
Kenny Albert.
Kenny Albert. It's Kenny Albert.
It's Kenny Albert and
Yeah,
Olsen now.
yeah.
But it's because he used to be with the guy that's with
Tom
Tommy.
Brenneman.
No, yeah, or whoever's with Brady. Yeah. Is it Brenneman?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Tom Brenneman.
So when you say Brenneman, I think Hitch. I got Albert Brenneman in my head right now.
Nah.
But also I, I do like Romo Nance. CBS, it's so interesting. CBS's approach
Hmm.
to pro football over the years has always been, in my mind, they were the standard. Growing
Yeah,
up,
yeah.
so we grew up in NFC towns.
Madden Summerall.
Right. It's Madden Summerall,
You're
the
looking
smooth,
by.
the smoothest voice.
Yeah,
Summerall, the smoothest voice. Madden, just all over the daggone place, right?
yeah,
But they were the gold standard of broadcasting, and then when you went over to CBS later and it was Phil Simms and Greg Gumbel. At least there was Greg Gumbel. And God bless, God rest his soul.
yes,
And thank you
yeah,
Shout
for
out,
all the
shout out
yeah,
to Greg.
yeah, shout out to Greg Gumbel. Thank
absolutely.
you for his professionalism and his just outstanding way across several sports, just
Yeah,
across athletics.
yeah.
But
He was the man.
Phil Sims and Gumbel was cool. Phil used to get on my nerves just a little bit, but because he was never really great enough to be, in my opinion, he was for one Super Bowl, he was the greatest ever to play in a Super Bowl game. Like for one
You
Super
got
Bowl,
to
he
give him
was.
half of that 90 season too, Joe.
Okay, half of it, sure, fine. That's
Before
cool.
Hostetler.
No problem. I know before Jeff went and won it, but I doubt even wears that ring. I doubt even wears that ring.
Yeah.
But I really
They
do
wouldn't have
like.
been there without him.
They went out to have those wins. But I do like Nance and Romo because when Romo came to the booth, he revolutionized. In all sincerity, in my opinion, he revolutionized the way they were doing things because his keen eye, he just broke things down and really understood. Now you have several more people who are very adept. I mean, the idea of Brady being there, watching your offense and watching your defense. I mean,
Yeah,
of course, you're not going to beat that. I mean, how are you going to beat Brady doing that with just the X's and O's? It's not going to happen. Oh, how you do it? You get Belichick in there. Okay,
yeah,
that's what you do. You get Belichick. So
yeah.
I hate that his year on the bench is over because that means that's over with,
Hmm.
and that's something I truly look forward to in listening. But my all-time favorite, of course, is Madden Summerall, and I think the funnier thing are the funnier things are the horrible. I can't stand Tarico, and you all know that because
Uh-huh.
he's
A lot of reasons.
the worst, just the worst,
Yeah,
and he's just the worst, and so full stop. So the Collinsworth Tarico thing. Unfortunately, they got great games,
yeah,
so I have no choice but to listen to them. But I cringe usually when I do. If it's about
yeah,
a great play, love it. Don't give me no
yeah,
human interest. Don't talk about a white supremacist over and over again that
yeah,
loves a MAGA loving white supremacist over and over
yeah,
again. Don't be so excited about really pro ultra conservative things that are happening in an
yeah,
area that you're just so excited about.
yeah,
Like, are you out of your mind? But he is. He's 60 years
yeah,
old. Still acts that way as though you know,
yeah,
it doesn't matter. It's going to protect him.
yeah,
When in actuality, it doesn't at all. So,
yeah,
so I can't even. I have a difficult time even watching the telecast
yeah.
when
As
he's
do I.
on. When he's on, and then so and I already know how Consworth feels about those things. So because he gets extra quiet
Yeah,
when certain things
yeah. He
come up,
does. Yeah, he does.
he gets extra
Yeah,
quiet.
which
Uh,
which is kind of why it's hard for me to super duper hate Collinsworth, but I digress.
no,
Yeah,
he's a grown up and a professional. I'm gonna tell
yeah,
you that.
yeah,
Because I mean, again, I remember him from inside the NFL, man. Like at
yeah.
HBCU,
Oh, he
I
was.
remember he was the pipsqueak kid. He was the kid. He was the one.
Yeah, And they
Lenny
made sure
Dawson
he
and
knew it too.
Bonacani. Oh my God, they would get. Oh my gosh, they would give him the
Yeah.
business. But
Yeah.
this is a great question. This is a great question because, you know, you know what I think of when you ask the duo question? I'm thinking
Uh-huh.
of WWF, and
Ah,
I'm thinking of I'm thinking of McMahon and
Jesse Ventura.
Jesse Ventura.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
my mind, I could just hear him say,
Especially if Tito Santana's wrestling.
especially I can hear him say McMahon, McMahon. He would just say it
Mc-
over and
yeah.
over again, but you would
McMahon,
never,
you don't know. You're
you
pulling
don't
for
know.
Chico here.
Like, I didn't understand like why he was so angry about it because I
Uh-huh.
didn't realize that was the
Uh-huh.
same guy that was over it. I was like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's why he's upset. But so that's if Madden Summerhaller won,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I got you. I got you.
McMahon and Ventura too for me.
Anybody? All right. Well, so all right. My I happen to be I like Collinsworth a lot.
Uh-huh.
I know. I know, you know, he bloviates at times, but like as far as the ins and outs and like getting things in the moment, he really does. And I think he's drugged down to your point by Tarico quite a bit. You know, I liked him better when he was with Al Michaels. I thought that was like just the peak. But you know, that being said, individually, I like Collinsworth. I think from a team standpoint, my favorite is Nance and Romo. Uh, you know, I think that they just have the total package. Nance is just a consummate professional. From calling the masters, you name it. Like he's just been there. He's
class. He's just class.
He's the new Costas.
He is.
You know what I mean?
Who was the old Imberg?
Right, exactly. They're just passing that torch.
All these up here.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
these up here.
Now I got to give a shout out to my favorite other individual commentator who doesn't often get called on is Ross Tucker. He gets like the C and D games, but
a lot of our games.
He knows his stuff, and he's funny and insightful, and that's what makes me think a lot about Dr. Z because that's the kind of guy he really would have liked. You know what I mean? Like not the flashy, you know, guy that's gonna go with the narrative and tell the story like how we were talking about, you know, that's that and the other. He's going the X's and O's, he's got it. You know what I mean? Who I don't like, and you know there are a lot of people I don't like. I'm not a huge fan of what Brady has done this year because I feel like Brady can give some of the same kind of insights that Romo does. And doesn't, and I think he's holding back a bit. Whereas in Romo's first year, he was balls to the wall. Like he was calling plays before they happened, all this kind of thing. I think Brady has that ability to do so, but he's just so glib and so, you know, it's just like, you know, oh, you see what happened there, blah, blah, blah. The one time he told an anecdote about something that happened in the season, I think he was calling the Tampa game and something was happening there. And he was like, yeah, that guy used to sack me a lot, yada, yada. You know, like, we need more of that kind of stuff. But at any rate, who I really, you know, and I'm on my soapbox here. You guys have to grant. Jonathan Vilma.
Oh yeah,
Jonathan Vilma is awful.
And he always does like a Falcon game. He always does the same Falcon game.
Why? How is this man who was a Bounty Gate abject Falcons hater? How is he allowed to call Falcons games or Bucks games or Panthers games, to that matter? How is he allowed? Like his objectivity is trash.
He has no objectivity. It's so obvious to your point, and it's such a joke. Tommy Heinsohn used to do the basketball games, the finals though, with Magic and Bird. Tommy Heinsohn used to do those games. But to your point, and he was a Celtics head coach who played for the Celtics. Okay.
The most abject homer, when I think of a homer, Tommy Heinsohn is who comes into mind. And
the worst.
The worst. And
Vilma is way up there. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Vilma's way up there, which is it's kind of like the negativity that that I was mentioning with Aikman. Like he just goes ultra negative.
Yeah.
And obviously Aikman played with like 8, prayerfully 9 Hall of Famers, prayerfully 10 actually when it's all said and done, Hall of Famers. But
hopefully this weekend.
Yeah, hopefully so. But still, the point being, it's like, come on, you don't have to be that negative. But it's not Homer. He's not doing Homer stuff. In fact, he's come out publicly against or being ultra critical of the very organization. That's the whole reason he's on television today. So Vilma obviously doesn't have that gravitas, But he obviously can't. But he can't hold. But to your point, he can't hold back either. He can't even hold the contempt in. It's a joke. And I'm thinking to myself, there's no brother, there's no other black. If you just have to give a black man a job that bad, just don't do it. Just don't do it. There are so many other people that could probably do that would love
Man,
to do
like
that
I
work.
think about Asho. I don't like Asho. I rather see
Can't stand
Asho there than
I can't
the
stand
villain.
Nacho either. Yeah, but I can't stand Nacho. But at least you get a fair shake on that. But at least
Yeah.
doing NFC South games because he does do NFC South games, and so that's the catch. That's the catch on that. It's interesting. Chris mentioned Herbie and Michaels. I have nothing but love and respect for Michaels.
Hmm.
You all both know that I'm about tired of Michaels too,
Yeah.
because he goes out of his way to show I don't need this.
Yeah. He's
Like I
doing
don't,
us all a favor.
I don't need this. I don't need to be here. They're
Yeah.
paying me the most money I've ever made in my life
Uh-huh.
to sit here and do these games. So I'm going to give my references that 19 of you get.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk to you about a play, some obscure play that 7 of you understand.
Yeah.
I hate every act. I hate the fact that there's a concert after this game. I'm going to make fun of it all.
Yeah. He's
And
yelling
they
at clouds.
yeah, and exactly. And they let him he's literally Grandpa Simpson. And they let him just he misses things a lot.
Yeah.
He's not as bad as a coach on College Game Day, but and he's not as bad as Lou Holtz. Remember Lou Holtz and Mark May? Do you remember?
Ah,
I
that was
loved
awful.
College Game Day Final.
Do
You know, I was
you
freshman when they
remember?
No,
changed
man.
it up.
Mark
Do
May
you
it was
remember
instantly making me turn the TV.
how
I stayed up for it.
antithetical they were? I know Mark May wanted to pick him up and break him over his knee on more than one occasion. And Holtz would sit, oh, I love him. You just get to, he was just like he was like shrinking and couldn't speak well and just couldn't. I
Just
didn't
spit
get it
flying everywhere.
everywhere, and they just put this man on TV. I'm thinking like, why is this happening? Is there no one else that could do this? That's kind of how I feel about Michaels, but he's still holding it together enough right now that he's not is not completely out there bad. But
Yeah.
it's interesting that like there's no one else on their desk, on that prime desk, good
Yeah.
enough to get up there in the booth with a
Yeah.
college commentator
Yeah.
who's a homer, with a college commentator and Al Michaels, who's in the Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
of commentators. So it's really interesting. I'm curious how they're gonna do that moving forward. I think 2 is enough. Don't go with 3. Remember when Monday Night did 3 with Charles with well, what's the brother's name, who sounded just like Greasy. He was a GM at one time.
Oh, Louis Riddick.
Louis
Right.
Riddick. I can't
Yeah.
stand him. Very, very hard on black men. Very hard on black men on national television.
Yeah.
Not like not unlike Tom Jackson.
Yeah.
Uh,
Uncle
but
Tom Jackson. Oh, did I say that? I'm sorry.
yes, you did. Yes, you did. But it's so interesting that but we still watch. I mean, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. I mean, that's what our options were. Who's the lineman from the Rams that is now
Oh,
on the
Whitworth.
prime?
Whitworth.
I
I
think
think
Whitworth,
he can break through.
give
I
him
think
some
he can break-
years.
Yeah, I think he can
he'll-
break through.
Yeah.
He's even keeled.
Yeah.
Kelsey looks so out of place there. Like Kelsey, I can't believe I'm not a fan of Ryan Clark. I'm tired of Ryan Clark. I'm tired of everything.
Ryan Clark needs somebody to tell
Oh.
him no to some of these outfits.
I'm tired of everything
Jesus.
that Ryan Clark represents, stands for. Let me not say everything, but I'm just tired of the
I'm appreciative of how he went at Rodgers. Thank you
I
for
am
that.
too. I am too.
Yeah.
But
But that notwithstanding, it just feels like
It's like
his
he's
first purpose is to build his brand, and then the
Yeah.
second is to provide commentary.
either way, he's always exasperated, and maybe he's just exasperated as a black man, and I understand that. I get that.
Yeah.
However, you get to talk about football, okay? You get to talk about football, and they
Yeah.
pay you 7 figures. Then
Yeah.
you get to sit around with other guys and talk about whatever you want to talk about, and then you get paid 7 figures. Shh. Just, but he speaks slowly and uses some big words, so he thinks that then he is some intellectual savant or whatever. And yeah, about being a D-back, absolutely. You were a subpar, maybe 1 or 2 Pro Bowl corner.
We on a heater tonight. I'm not disagreeing with you, Joe.
But now you're the ultimate. You know, you won a Super Bowl. You went down the resume, so you made it easy for all of us. You're not probably top 20 of your generation. Is it not? Nobody's thinking about you. I'm thinking about Rodney Harrison or
he's no Akeem Talib. Speaking of which,
Akeem Talib, Rodney
somebody
Harrison.
needs to get him back in the booth because he was awesome.
You know, Dallas's own. You know what I'm saying? Okay, but I am so I'm tired of Ryan Clark. I'm just tired of that whole thing. Because when we get a little something on it, we're gonna hold on tight. We're gonna hold on tight. We got a black guy that speaks does this stuff, and we're gonna hold on tight, whatever. I understand his purpose and I'm all for the brother getting his money. I'm just personally, I've tuned out. I tuned out of the Ryan Clark thing.
Absolutely.
And because he was a Steeler, and now we don't know what's going to happen in Pittsburgh. But I mean, obviously they're keeping Tomlin, right? Because the coaches are. I mean, there's going to be no one to hire pretty soon.
Yeah.
Unless he just had a presser recently, and I think if he's not getting ready to get into his extension, he's going into year 2 of the 3-year extension.
It's the reason why they, stability. Leave well enough alone. He'll be all right.
Yeah,
exactly.
And the only people who are mad at Tomlin are the people who are not team fans of one of the 2 teams who will be exuberant on Monday.
Yeah.
Because of what would have happened around lunchtime on
Monday. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, dog avatars and eagle avatars, all those kind of things. Those are the people that, anyway. Enough said about that.
Well, I just want to comment on Coach Tomlin real quick. I can't remember if I said it last week, but for all the hemming and hawing, and since Coach Lou Holtz was mentioning all the bitching and moaning that folks like to do about Mike Tomlin, they let Bill Cowher sit there for 18 years. Brother. Even have 2 or 3 losing seasons.
Yeah,
goes 2 Roman numeral games. But Mike Tomlin is always, and they're like, "Oh, Bill Cowher is great." Why didn't Bill Cowher go out with a ring?
Yeah. And why didn't nobody else snap him up? Like, I mean, I know he retired, quote unquote, but still, you don't ever hear about Bill Cowher.
I've never understood the Bill Cowher. I've never understood I think Dungey just got tired and left. And I'm not being an apologist for the black man, even though we know I'm a race man. I'm truly being objective here. I've never understood I'm walking out the door.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember now many times that Cowher to Dallas, like, that's not gonna happen. Would you all just please shut up with that? I remember in that year when they won.
Yeah.
And it was whatever, but then he left and no, haven't heard about clamoring to the door, haven't heard about it knocking on the door or a trail to his home, or he doesn't have the Cowher camp.
Yeah.
There's not a he's on TV. He's doing the TV stuff for CBS. It's cool. Hey, cool.
Yeah.
His kids are grown. I know his wife died. His kids are grown. He's remarried. He's just probably living a nice, chill life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Even Miami called up Jimmy one more time.
Yes, exactly. I mean, to your point, but I never understood that. But to your greater point, many of those people don't even have a real understanding of the amount of time that Cowher was there and how this organization really works. Because you just look around, you see all these other organizations. I mean, Jerry's going to hire his 8th or 9th coach in 35 years.
Jesus.
Yes, 35 years, right? So, and really in the last 25 years, I think it's like the 7th or 8th coach in the last 25 years.
Jesus.
Yeah. And so if you think about it, it's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah. But so people look at that like, oh, well, what about that? Well, it's the same result. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? At least the same result. So,
once Jerry started getting on up there in coaches, I remember when he fired Dave Campo as I was young. I remember being so disappointed because I always said, a cowboy coach is supposed to win at least 1 Super Bowl ring, which at the time, every cowboy coach
was the standard
in the Super Bowl era had Landry and Johnson and Barry Switzer. Or was
Yeah,
it Chan
Campo.
Gailey before Dave Campo?
It's Chan Gailey first and
Yeah.
Campo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chan Gailey, that was just weird. His name was Chan. He came from Pittsburgh. He wasn't supposed to, you're not supposed to have anybody from Pittsburgh on the team.
And then went to North Avenue.
Yes.
So
yes, he did. Yes, he did. Chan.
I know Cassie is tired of me just taking random shots at North Avenue, but that's how it is.
They were calling two away from an upset. They were calling.
Oh yeah.
Caller two away.
I was standing up the entire overtime, every minute, every second.
I'm talking about in the regulation. They were caller two away.
Well, sure. Yeah, well, fair.
If Cassie is listening, I hope the city of Cleveland prevails in their lawsuit against the Browns. They should be playing by the lake and not out there in the suburb in a dome.
Yeah.
I need another Jameis-esque pregame interview. I get to play at AFC North weather in the snow.
I like the memes that have resulted from it. All right, so let's recap our selections from last week.
Yes, let's recap them.
Yeah, we made some. Joe, you funny, man. We made some selections last week. We made selections on the college football slate, and then we made selections on the pro football slate, as it were. College football is winding down this week. We saw that the men from Notre Dame prevailed over the men from Penn State, and we saw that the men from The Ohio State University prevailed over the Texas Longhorns in probably the more I would say the more entertaining game for me. I don't know. But yeah. So how do we do, Joe? Who did what there?
Well, we're kind of tied up. So you and I chose Notre Dame, rightfully so. Chris chose the Nittany Lions. And then you and I chose Texas, and Chris chose Ohio State. So we're both 1-1 with that.
We're all deadlocked here.
And it all leads to Atlanta.
College Park is not Atlanta.
It's not.
But Northside Drive and Martin Luther King, though, is
definitely Atlanta.
Atlanta, where this game would be played.
For sure.
Okay.
Yes. So it looks like the odds right now are 8.5 points in favor of The Ohio State University.
Wow, 8.5. Wow,
8.5. That's pretty decisive.
Yeah.
It would be a true upset based on how that goes if the Notre Dame Fighting Irish were to win. That said, let's make some selections here. So, Chris, we'll start with you, man. Who you like? Why you like them?
Well, if you two will allow me a moment to nerd out here.
Okay. Please do.
Since the beginning of the BCS era.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I forgot about you.
Of which you've been a huge proponent.
Which, by the way, turn the machines back on. Let me make that clear for the record.
Yes.
Turn the machines back on.
Yes.
There have been 11.5 champions with one or more losses. I say 11.5 because that 2003 year split with USC and LSU. Do I need to rattle off those champions? Well, for our people out there, Alabama, Clemson, Florida, Georgia, LSU, Ohio, and USC have all been champions with one or more losses. Now, on Monday night, either we're going to have a team who has lost to a blue blood and be the champion. That would be The Ohio State, who lost to Michigan, or University of Notre Dame, who lost to Northern Illinois. Now, let me be clear. So in addition to those champions, I decided to make a list of the spoilers of those what would have been undefeated champions in alphabetical order. You have the University of Alabama, University of Arkansas, Alabama Polytechnic Institute, or as y'all call it now, Auburn, twice. University of California, Berkeley, University of Kentucky,
Cal Bears,
Louisiana State, the University of Mississippi, University of Pittsburgh, Texas Agricultural Mechanical University, and the Virginia Polytechnic Institute and State University. Now,
Hokey High.
Since they don't like to be called Biotech, I will call them what their mother called them.
Hey, be careful. Corey's out there.
Yes, yes.
Northern Illinois.
Currently fielding offers from Deltas and Ks. Go ahead.
Of course.
And shout out to Coach Thomas Hammond at Northern Illinois. And
Come on.
I'm very torn. You know, I love that he's coaching his alma mater, and I wish he could be paid Power 4, Power 2, whatever everybody but the Pac-2.
Yeah.
That money.
Yeah.
Because I always just think it's super cool when you're coaching against your alma mater. But I want him to, as Childish Gambino said, get your money.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always in
and
favor
especially if you're the only team who possibly have defeated the national champion if it turns out that way on Monday. I'm also reminding myself that I was supposed to have forgiven Notre Dame. They brought back someone with a similar heritage as Tyrone Willingham, because I was very, very, very angry that they fired him after 3 years when they let other people stink up the joint for 5+ years.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
You know, it pains me to think that Northern Illinois could join the spoilers list. Just doesn't sit right with me. Just as
You got is Pitt that much of a blue blood?
No.
No, they're not. But they're
In
at least
1970,
in the ACC.
in 1976,
I mean, they had Dan Marino.
And Tony Dorsett.
They had Tony Dorsett.
Yes,
when they were national champs.
I'm just saying though. I mean, like, or University of Mississippi. Like, who cares about Johnny Reb and them?
Mm-mm.
Well, you know, I think the Manning
blood
family might have something to say about that.
They've never played in a game of consequence.
By humbug.
Exactly. I will not dispute that.
Yes. At least Pitt was a national champ.
Yeah. And they played University of Georgia in the Sugar Bowl.
Now,
the sugar
I don't know.
Was raining down from the sky.
I don't know if the writers didn't rank them high enough during the serious segregationist times. You know, like Alabama would get rightfully buggered. I don't know if that was the case when Archie was there. I don't know that. But we ain't talking about when Archie was there. We're talking about when Son's brother's been playing. So
very much agree.
He's like, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It would be a very unique and interesting addition to the spoilers list.
Okay.
Of course, Christopher Lee's nerdy and superficial reasons, of course. Has nothing to do with X's and O's and talent on the field, just history and my Sports Center-esque tweaked history over here.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
But you know,
there's
in the
room for it.
Forgiveness and atonement, I will be rooting for the boys out of South Bend with the 18 stripes in their end zone pointed at 42 degrees, representing the founding year of their institution. I'm going for the Golden Domers coming back home.
Okay. All right. That's your selection.
Do it for
you
time.
Like them and you think
do it for time.
Do it for time.
Okay. Joe.
Notre Dame.
I mean, you know, we're gonna be accused. At least two of us in this so far.
I don't care about anything. Okay, look.
Let's address.
I'm from third floor Wheeler. Okay. I'm from third floor Wheeler. I don't care about what anybody from second floor or first floor Wheeler has to say. I was taught to think rationally. Okay, on the third floor of Wheeler Hall.
Tobin them.
Yes, Tobin them. Yes, I was taught from the east wing of Wheeler to the west wing of Wheeler, and all points in between. I was taught to think
Abraham Davis,
yes, Abraham
Lincoln Davis.
Yeah, Abraham Lincoln Davis, class 61. I was taught to think rationally. Okay, and so to that end, I'm going with Notre Dame. From what I saw, I think Ohio State's emotional pitch, I know they say it's 4 games and all that. I do think their emotional pitch is such that it was spent after they were tested far greater than they thought they would, and far greater than they would be, and far greater than any pundits did. Many pundits did as well. Texas showed up and shot themselves in the foot, and could have won that game. And then this would be a very different conversation, and I would
Oh yeah.
be in a full burnt orange right now because I'm going to the game on Monday. And so
I feel like you would
in
have
preparation,
representation of Bevo and everything.
brother. It would have been a lot going on. It would
Yeah.
have been a lot going on back here right now.
Yeah.
But having said that, I too am putting, just like Chris, we're putting the tie thing to rest. And so here we are. Marcus Freeman, congratulations. A lot of history will be made just by having him in the game, and hopefully a lot of history will be made when his team hopefully plays well enough to win this game. I think they have it in them. I think they can surprise a lot of people, and I think if you punch Ohio State in the mouth, I don't think they're not as tough or strong or big and bad as they've been made out to be. Also, I know the athletes at Texas are superior, but particularly in the corners and the secondary, they showed something. They showed a way to slow down that vaunted Ohio State offense against these big infinity teams, against Indiana and Illinois when they were putting up all those big numbers, and Iowa when they were putting up all those big numbers, when some brothers from Texas were on them. It was a little different. Okay, so Notre Dame's got some wonderfully talented D-backs as well, and defense as well. So I think it'll be very interesting. I think it'll be a very interesting game, and but I'm going Notre Dame.
Okay. Everybody's going Notre Dame. Everybody likes Notre Dame. Well, I like Notre Dame too. I'm at the risk of, I alluded to it earlier. I'll just put it all the way out there. Marcus Martin, our favorite Ohio State fan. Also shout out to Scoop, because Scoop was there, by the way.
He was.
And Darren, I'm sure he was, yeah. So, but that being said,
he's been quiet. He
has been quiet. But Marcus called us haters. He called Joe and I haters.
Yeah, and I wrote. I said, how is giving an opinion? How does that prove that I'm a hater? No comment.
So,
no comment.
More opinion. I think that Joe, you made some very salient points. I think that the one that I'm going to latch on to the most is punching them in the mouth. I think that the toughness. I think the team that resembles a team that beat Ohio State the most, Notre Dame, resembles Michigan in every aspect. I think that they are a superior team to Michigan. I think they'll come in with a better game plan than Michigan. I think Notre Dame makes I don't think it's going to even be particularly close, if I'm being perfectly honest. I would love for my Omega Lambda Charter Day, January 20th, for us to be watching that in brotherhood, brethren together, dwelling in unity, watching this game together. And it'd be a good game, but I doubt it. I think it's going to be a laugher. I think that Notre Dame's going to show up and show out. I think it's going to be a coronation for one Marcus Freeman, which, has done the unthinkable. Every podcast I've listened to this week has made mention of the fact that he has made Notre Dame likable.
Yeah.
For years and years and years, God bless my father. One of the things I know he hated was Notre Dame. You know what I mean? Just African American men of a certain generation,
understand it.
Yeah, they were, persona non grata.
Unless you're from the mid.
Unless you're my dear frat brother Andre Anderson from South Bend, Indiana. You know what I mean? You're gonna or a certain pedigree of if you related to, because I know a couple people that are related to some former Notre Dame players and ballyhoo. Congratulations. But most of us dislike Notre Dame with the intensity of a Category 5 hurricane. We just from the Catholics to the convicts, all that stuff. You know what I mean? There's so much history there. And
Catholics versus cousins, as they did in 2012.
The Catholics,
family whooped that.
Quite clever. Anyway.
Wow.
I think that they in a matter of a few years, Marcus Freeman has turned them into a likable program, into a program that people can get behind and forget some of that sordid history, some of those those Tony Rice teams. You know what I mean? Like yeah, the Lou Holtz, Parseghian, whatever, Parseghian. How do I pronounce it?
Parsegian.
Parsegian, Parsegian,
Parsegian. There's a Parsegian.
Parsegian. You know,
Dan
all those
Devine.
teams. Yeah, man. Dan Devine. Yeah, Rudy.
Rudy Rudiger. Yes.
Rudy Rudiger. The only thing that they did was beat North Avenue. You know what I mean? Like,
and Rudiger was offside.
I agree. And speaking of which, by the way, man, speaking of bad calls or non-calls, man, Texas was definitely hosed a bit. Ohio State was holding all over the place, and we know that that's not going to be acceptable in a Notre Dame game. Like, they're going to be on that for sure. So
I'm curious to who's doing this game. What crew?
Oh, what conference is?
What conference crew is doing this? Yeah,
Chris, you usually are on that. Do you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Is it an SEC team?
I'm not sure. It'll probably be an SEC crew, but I'm not sure at the moment.
God help us. Well, you know,
Sure.
I hope that, you know, again,
they'll let the boys play. They'll let the boys play,
and I hope they let those boys play. But I think it's going to be Notre Dame in a you know in a laugher. But
nice.
We shall see. We shall see.
Nice.
So,
but we shall see.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll be deadlocked again, or we'll all be wrong. Either way,
right?
Absolutely. All right.
And I guess correctly, it will be a Southeastern Conference crew officiating.
There you
Steve
go.
Marlowe will be the white cap.
Nice. That portends very well for us, I believe. So
yes, I agree.
And we'll all be haters. All right.
yes, we will be.
Anyway, all right. So
and notice nobody said anything negative about Ohio State.
Oh, not at all. Not at all. It's a fine institution. One of the
no, I'm saying about their about the team. It's another negative about the team. I just
fair enough. Let me get this plug in for their medical school, their internal medicine program, and particularly their cardiology program. Dr. Quinn Capers, a Black man, doing God's work in terms of training Black cardiologists. So shout out to, Ohio State doing some good stuff out there.
And shout out to Dr. Aldenice Ewing, who's also doing cancer research there and teaching future generations of researchers.
There you go.
Wonderful.
So fine institution.
Can't wait for the commercials.
Yeah.
In the stadium.
Yeah. Water losing. So
right.
At any rate, before we get into the NFL picks, I want to say that we do free advertising for two companies and two companies alone. The first is Joe Carlos Photography. Guys, if you are in Atlanta,
thank you.
You have a special event. I implore you, if you want your memories done right with selective, like just an eye for the moment and not missing a single thing, every guest that you want being captured. Or if you are planning for Easter, birthdays, for a Greek occasion, whatever it is, Joe's your guy. And all you got to do is go to his website. I particularly like when it's a Founders Day, and selfishly, I hope I don't get in too much trouble, but for the K's and the Reds, when you highlight them, that's usually a
thank you. Yeah, it's a highlight of my year as well.
Yeah, but Joe Carlos Photography, guys, make sure. And then the other I'm remiss because we didn't mention them hardly at all last week. Reese Surly Shirts.
Oh, Surly Shirts. Shout out to Reese.
Shout out to Reese. Shout out to Surly Shirts. Our tradition, Chris, is to take a sip,
Yes, for Surly Shirts. What is that behind you? There's a wonderful blanket I see on the couch there.
Bro, hey man, I don't want to get too emotional, but I do.
Okay.
I want to give a shout out to my class, the class of 1997 at Westlake High School in Southwest Atlanta. You may see them in the background of such television shows as Stranger Things. Anytime there's a high school shot, that's my old alma mater, Westlake High. Home of Cam Newton, Pac-Man Jones, and Dr. Killer Cow, Mad Dog.
God bless. Mad Dog. Yes.
As I mentioned on Instagram and my other social media, you don't get to choose where you're born or what year you're born. You may, if you're lucky, if you're intellectually inclined or whatever, might have a shot at choosing where you go to high school. And I was lucky enough to be in the class of 1997 at Westlake High School. I met up with my class president this evening, Brother Keith Kane, Ben Hill, Ben Real. My main man, Keith Kane, a graduate of Tennessee State University and a willing donor to Tennessee State University. is in town for the games and to celebrate with his fraternity brothers in Iota Phi Theta this weekend. So he and the vice president of our class, Lakeith Vincent, shout out to Lakeith educating at Mays. She said Mays. Pretty sure she said Mays. But anyway, they got together around the time my dad passed and decided as a class they wanted to, wrap their arms around me, do some things. And one of the things they did was create this blanket, which has a collage of just great photos of my dad with us, without us, just fantastic. It brought me near to tears in the moment. I'm close to it now talking about it, but it's cherished from the moment I got it. It's gonna be right here. I told Keith it's gonna go past even some of my frat stuff, like in terms of like prominence. So
a place of prominence.
Yes, a place of prominence. Exactly.
Yes.
And so
that's beautiful. That's
for,
beautiful, man. And shout out to class of '97. You're welcome. Yeah, but yeah, it's truly, it's beautiful, and it
Thanks,
is
man.
indicative of not only a life well lived, but an extremely impactful life as well.
Yeah.
Whenever others can recognize how special you've been, and know that who's been special to you, and showing respect and love for that is a beautiful thing. So that's absolutely beautiful, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you,
No
man.
problem.
Thank you for that.
Of course.
All right. So without any further delay, we're gonna jump into these divisional round games. But first, we should talk about our results from the playoff or the wild card round, which was remarkably underwhelming, in my opinion. I think that the games beyond the one Tampa Washington game left a lot to be desired. I don't know if y'all agree with that or not.
I don't know about left to be desired, but there were some surprises, or at least from my end, and
a lot of surprises.
My result card.
There's a lot of surprises.
I think there were some clunkers, man. I'm used to, like, I don't know, man. I think back to that one year when the Chargers choked away that lead, and Jacksonville won, and that Cincinnati, like, it was all like all the games came to like a kick at the end or something like that, man.
Yeah, wild card was pretty anticlimactic, but it was definitely refreshing to see some of the meltdowns.
Sure.
That wheat certainly got separated from the chaff, for sure.
I love that saying just in general. So
that was definitely, I liked watching some of those meltdowns.
Yeah.
Personally,
sure.
Just because I'm tired, and I will say it again, but I was just tired of the overhype of some of the quarterbacks, excuse me, and coaches who lost.
Yeah.
Who lost last weekend, and are they playing all the positions? No, coaches aren't playing any positions, and quarterbacks are only playing the one they're playing, but they touch the ball every play, on offense. So
they play a major role.
Yeah,
Sunshine plays a major part in the daytime.
Peace to mankind. Ghostface carry the Black Knight.
All right, so Joe, recap for us. How did we do last week?
Well, we all chose the Chargers, and they let us down, so we're all 0-1. We all chose Baltimore, so then we're 1-1. We all chose, excuse me, and what we said. Shout out to the Texans, by the way, for that big win.
Oh yeah.
By the way, just want to and DeMeco Ryans and basically taking what they were given. Yeah. Shout out to them for taking what they were given.
Yeah.
And literally taking what they were given because
but you got to do something with it.
Got to do something with it.
Yeah,
we
all teams don't score.
We all know a lot of teams will just squander opportunities.
Yeah.
That game turned. I just want to say this, and we know it. That game turned. I'm sorry if I'm jumping ahead. On that botched play, there was a broken play. The ball bounced. Picks the ball up. Stroud finds, I think it was Harrison deep. Not deep, but 30 yards down the field. He's thrown out of the end zone. And the game changed from that play on. They were off to the races.
Yeah.
I've never watched just a total divergent, to
see
way
momentum
the
swing
arrows
like that.
swing that way was just crazy. And then after the half, to keep it going and going and going, and then to see Herbert just melt 3 for the season, and then 4 in the game. It's just like, what in the world? What is going on with you?
Maybe
you were supposed to be You were supposed to be the guy,
Yeah.
This is,
Yeah.
it's like when Tom Hagen said, "Not, it couldn't be one of your people, right, Michael?
It's
Couldn't be
not
one of your
one of your
people,
people.
not one of your
Right.
people that tried to kill you in your house when your wife sleeps.
Where are my children play?
With their toys? No. So we were 0-1, then we were 1-1. Then
Okay.
Buffalo wins, so then we're 2-1. Then Philly wins, so we're 3-1.
Mm-hmm.
So then you all chose Tampa.
Uh-huh.
So and I chose Washington. So you're
Uh-huh.
3-2. I'm 4-1. Then you
Uh-huh.
all chose LA, and I chose
Los
Minnesota.
Angeles.
So then we're 4-2.
Okay.
We're-
Everybody's
we're-
4-2.
We're all tied
We're
up.
all locked up.
Yeah.
Nobody's
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
be perfect.
No, nobody's gonna be perfect. We're all tied up at 4-2.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the first game, we're gonna have an extension of the Houston invitation. Only this time it's gonna be in Kansas City. But
Right.
that 4:30 Saturday matchup, Houston just can't seem to escape that. I don't know,
No.
man.
They do not play with lights on.
Yeah,
ever.
man.
No
So
lights.
4:30 p.m. In Kansas City, the Kansas City Chiefs playing the Houston Texans, and the Kansas City Chiefs are favored by 8.5 points. Chris, who you liking that?
Well, so first of all, I want to apologize to the Sealy fan club or whatever, whatever folks who like me for whatever reason as well. Call themselves collective, the Sealy Collective. There we go.
Shout out to the Sealy.
I didn't do my best work last week, but I've come with my homework this week, and so
Okay.
it's going to be cold. But remember, the Texans went to Kansas City earlier this season in Week 16.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 30 degrees out there. It's predicted to be 23 degrees on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, the rule of thumb is indoor and sunshine belt. Southern teams don't play well in the cold. But Texas hung in with them. Kansas City has played a lot of close games this year.
They have.
Too many for my liking.
Okay.
Too many for a three-peat. Or what does that proverbial say? They've been playing with fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And brethren,
Eventually
say with
you
me,
get
the
burnt.
fire that cooks also burns.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
I'm gonna go out on a limb. Homeboy, D'Amico Ryans and the Texans.
Okay.
That fire is finally gonna burn the Chiefs because they've been playing with it too long.
Okay.
And they are gonna shake up the world. Give me the Texans on Saturday.
Whoa.
Hey, we're starting off on fire. Okay.
Yeah, we are. We are starting off on fire.
Joe.
I know what this is. It's a ploy. It's a ploy.
Okay.
Houston is populated with some very, very wonderful people.
Yes.
I'm just gonna keep it there. It's a ploy. I get it. I see you, Chris.
Yeah.
I see you, Chris.
Yeah.
No. So Chris goes with the Texans.
He's a smart guy.
He's a very smart guy. Okay. So I've been thinking about this. I'm from Dallas, Texas.
Yes, you are.
We hate Houston. As a staff, record label, and crew. It's a wonderful place to visit. My dear goddaughter was born there. Who
shout out to her. She
shout out to
up,
Nyla.
didn't she?
Yeah, always. First semester at Lower Spelman College. We are so proud. Dean's List, Anala J. Bell. We love you so much.
Very, very proud. Starts with the 4.
See, Ivan and Torres doing the thing.
Doing the thing. Very, very proud. So that because of her birth, in 2006, that I had to start to reevaluate the way I look at Houston because of her birth. Having said all that, though, looking at this team, I've watched a lot of Houston Texans football in the last couple of weeks, and I've watched a lot of Kansas City football in person on my 50th birthday, and then just other games. And I've grown to loathe them, and I'm tired of the Chiefs. I do respect the time we're in. The time of Mahomes, the time of Reed. I do respect it. And being a student of sport, I do understand sometimes that when you are that high up on that hill, a la a 2-time defending world champion, with a couple, they probably had 2, maybe 3 Hall of Famers on the Chiefs, maybe 3. They'll probably sneak Chris Jones in as a product.
Yeah, I think so too.
As a product of the system.
That's a strong call, Joe.
Yeah, thank you. Even though I've never heard of any DPOY stuff or anything like that, but he'll probably get,
he's like Cortez Kennedy, like
Oh yeah, like Cortez, like and not even Calais Campbell, like not even
Yeah.
Calais Campbell,
Yeah.
but like Cortez Kennedy, right?
Or Vince Wilfork.
Or Vince Wilfork of that
Yeah.
ilk. But notice he didn't make it in the sorry, Chris, the final cut on that. Not
Fair.
yet, not yet, but he will because the Pats haven't started. They haven't started that thing yet. It's coming
Yeah.
though. It's coming.
It's coming.
But having said that, I do recall a two-time team that was going up against some upstarts, and they caught it not in the divisional round. They caught it in the championship round before the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a lot of pressure, and they've been sitting. They haven't played a meaningful game in like almost a month.
Yeah.
I'm going with Chris. I'm going to agree with Chris.
Okay.
I'm going. The only problem I have is the quarterback for the Houston Texans. That's the only problem I have. I just don't trust him, unfortunately. But I do trust that Texans D.
Okay.
And I think in a close game, those 4 picks last week, they're going to be dealing with the smartest quarterback that there is today.
Yeah.
But I think they're pretty darn good. Those guys, their corners are very, very, very good.
Yeah, I agree.
And they're very well coached. So hopefully, I think they win because of a defensive score, and they win the turnover battle. And so I think that's where they win because of that. Okay. But I'm going with the Texans too.
Okay, I don't have any drama here. I got Kansas City, but I'll tell you why I like Kansas City. But I agree with Shaw's arguments. I really do. I think that number one, Houston is an upstart. They got a fantastic coach. I think they're going to benefit from some turnovers. I think Patrick Mahomes has shown himself to be very vulnerable this season. He's thrown for some picks that he wouldn't have thrown for in years past. Derek Stingley, rather, excuse me, had a fantastic performance in that wild card round, and I think he's going to pick Mahomes' pocket at least once. I'll put it that way. Okay. That being said, and I don't distrust. I kind of disagree with you, Joe. I don't think it was Stroud per se. I think Stroud still has it.
His line.
No. I think it's the offensive coordinator. I think it's Bobby Slowick. Like,
he was
the bell of the ball, as they said on The Sopranos.
The bell of the ball.
The bell of the ball.
They also said that on The Office about Ryan.
Oh, yeah. Hey. The bell of the ball.
You will be the bell of the ball. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
But I don't think that he has it this year in terms of offensive play calling. Moreover, and here's where what I neglected to look at as far as the Chargers last week is concerned, the run game. I think that Kansas City has just enough of a run game between a now healthy Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, and then what Patrick Mahomes himself can do, because he's underestimated even after all the magic he's performed, he won that Super Bowl on his legs last year. You know what I mean? So
he did.
I think Patrick and Andy Reid and the rest of the crew pull it out. I think that the upset's coming. I think it's coming. I think that there's never been a three-peat in the NFL. There's never been a three-peat in the NFL.
For a reason.
In the Super Bowl era.
Yeah, in the Super Bowl era.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Let's not discredit those.
The Browns. Yes, thank you.
The NFL championship.
The NFL championships.
Fair enough.
I think the Packers won 3 in a row. I think the Packers won 3 in a row.
I stand corrected.
I know they beat Dallas two years in a row. I know at least.
And probably beat the Giants or the Colts or somebody. Yeah. But at any rate.
The greatest game ever played. Give me a break.
I think this harkens back to, and we've made mention of that particular season already, but when Joe Montana and those, they were hitting on all cylinders, and they ran up against a defense coached by one Bill Belichick, coached by Bill Parcells in the NFC Championship game. I think that's coming. It's a slow train coming, as David Chase and those or not David Chase, David Simon and those on The Wire are prone to showing us an allegory. It's a slow train coming.
Allegory. Yes.
Allegorical. He's very allegorical.
Allegorical.
The sacred and the profane. Anyway,
Yes.
man, if you're a Sopranos fans, you got an overload there. Anyway,
Sorry. I'm so
yeah.
sorry.
I like Kansas City to survive this round, and then we'll relitigate it next round. It wouldn't shock me if Houston won. Kind of hedging my bets a little bit, but I think Kansas City pulls it out. I think so. So, anyway, next game, the Saturday evening game on Fox. By the way, that previous game will be on ESPN.
ESPN. I just
I
had to do it. I just
hey, old school. You gonna get
very
some
old
if
school.
you listening to us watching us, you gonna get some old school, man.
It's
You
gonna
gonna
be
you
some old
gonna get
school.
some Bob Lee in your
Oh,
head,
Bob Lee, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, baby.
Yeah, man.
Bob Lee. Hopefully,
Ley. We are of no relation.
Yes, not of the Alabama LE.
Hopefully he's talking about something I want to hear, but it's like hockey,
Yeah.
Guys getting hit in hockey.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Bob.
All right. So the 8 o'clock.
And it's so serious. Bob
yeah.
Lee
Oh, yeah.
so
Oh, he was professional as hell.
Perfect hair.
Yeah. Professional as hell.
Yes.
So the evening game,
ESPN.
8 p.m. on Fox, where we get to listen to the dulcet tones of Tom Brady.
He's very well dressed.
Very well dressed.
He's very well dressed.
We get the Washington Commanders, the upstart Washington Commanders, Jaden Daniels led Washington Commanders at the Motor City, Detroit Football Lions in the comfy confines of Ford Field, right there in the heart of downtown Detroit. The Fist of Joe Louis, right there, awaiting them as you enter and exit. You see the Tigers at Comerica Park or whatever they call it nowadays. All those kind of things. The Lions are favored again by Shocker. 8.5 points. So it looks like 8.5 points is the default for a lot of these, but they favored by 8.5 points. Joe, let's start with you, man. Who you liking this?
This is tough, man.
Toughest of the weekend, in my opinion.
Yeah, it really is. And I went with Washington last week, partly as a zag, but partly because of what I watched in the Atlanta game. That was the first time I watched a full game of theirs. After the Dallas game, I was like, I don't believe in these guys anymore. After the first Dallas game, I said, I can't believe in them. This is hype. This is Dan Quinn. Now, I did say a Dan Quinn team can only take you so far. Team can only take you so far. I have been thinking about this all. Like at the moment the game was over, I was thinking about this question that you just asked me, and I've been looking at everything. And I know that the Lions are getting a little healthier. They were able to sit. They needed that time. But the only reason I have trepidation choosing Washington is because they just don't have enough, in my opinion, enough firepower or reliable firepower offensively they just don't have enough. They don't run well enough and pass well enough. Okay. I think at this stage in the playoffs, you got to be able to run the ball. You got to be able to move the ball. But I do believe firmly, by the way, I do believe in their defense. I've got no problems with anything Bobby Wagner's on. I mean, Wagner is the best defensive player probably left in the playoffs, at least on the NFC side. If I'm in my opinion.
Okay.
And he's the most pedigreed.
Okay.
Remaining defensive player, at least linebacker, without question. But I think, I think Bobby Wagner being a leader of Legion of Boom, I think he brings something to that defense there. They don't run the ball well enough for me without Daniels.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason I have a problem choosing them, because they're a feel-good pick, man.
Oh yeah.
I like Jay Daniels a lot. I think he's got something special. He's elusive. He's great. As long as he just stay healthy, you're gonna get hurt. But I mean, I don't mean like the ACL. I don't mean like no Alex Smith. We don't want to no RG3. Yeah. We don't no Washington quarterback issues. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But by that same token, I kind of look at it like, well, it's not the end of the world if I pick the team and they lose.
It's not.
It's
only a little bit of pride.
It is a little bit of pride, but love is stronger than pride. And
Okay,
I was born in Lansing, Michigan,
you were.
and my first football was the Detroit Lions football. So I'm conventional wisdom tells me Detroit. And I know I'm bloviating, but as you know the reason why I'm treading water here. The conventional wisdom tells me Detroit,
I
but
got you.
I am so torn because I really like what Washington's doing.
Yeah,
I know the last time they met up in a playoff game, I know what happened,
yeah.
but
Oh man,
it was at Robert Francis Kennedy.
brutal.
It was at Robert Francis Kennedy.
Yeah,
I know what happened.
yeah.
Um,
That was a team of destiny, not to be denied.
you're right. It was, but I'm gonna go. Lord, here we go, zagging again. I'm gonna go with Washington.
All right, I like it.
I think the Detroit story has been great.
I like it.
I think the Detroit story has been wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
I just think they're going to meet a team that's ready, and maybe they've been sitting. Now, I do emotionally, I know that they're going to be at a fever pitch in there.
Oh yeah,
I know that they're going to be a fever
Detroit versus
pitch.
everybody.
Yeah, they're going to be a fever pitch in there, and they have a lot of motivation to do well. But I think they're dealing with a team that can punch right back,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to go with Washington.
Okay, all right. Bold. I love it. I love it. Chris.
Well, for the collective, in hindsight, I should have probably called it Seeley's clan. We're gonna steal back the word clan, just like they took the word wolf, but we'll stick with collective. But I
Jeez.
digress.
Jeez.
Okay. I'm sure they'll roll with whatever changes you make.
So I looked at the weather forecast. Y'all know this is my favorite thing to do every year.
Okay.
I know the high in Detroit is supposed to be 36 that day and dropping throughout the night, be
Sure.
about 14 degrees by sunrise. And I noticed the Commanders practice outside this week. I mean,
I don't know why.
assuming
Okay.
it was to prepare for the NFC championship that they move on, because obviously it's going to be 72 degrees and no wind on Saturday night.
Right.
But with that said, as I like to derisively call them, Maryland's other NFL franchise is actually 3-0 indoors this season.
Okay. Nice stat pull. If we were on around the horn,
42 at Arizona.
You got it. Yeah. Tony Reale.
They won at New Orleans by a point.
Uh-huh.
And they beat the Dallas Cowboys. However, I am going to buy into the gambler's fallacy, and it's time for that streak to come to an end. Dan Campbell is on a mission. Detroit is on a mission. The Lions are not going to play with their food, unlike Kansas City. The Lions get it done on Saturday.
Okay. All right, so we got a division here. Again, not dispensing with drama. I'm going to pick the Lions. I did go back and forth, Joe, all week. The Commanders played so well against Baker Mayfield, who was playing out of his gourd the last few weeks. Like,
truly.
I mean, and they made Baker look pedestrian. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They are playing with a lot of heart right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think the weakness, as you kind of astutely pointed out, is their running game. Yep. And one of the biggest gripes, because I follow quite a few Commanders, Redskins lineage, whatever, legacy Washington fans who have come out of the woodworks now that they're doing well. But I digress. And a lot of them had big complaints about a player who I enjoyed as a fantasy owner until about halfway through the year, and then I traded him away because I picked up on a trend. And that would be Brian Robinson Jr. He left a lot to be desired, and no vision in terms of his running. Pretty much is running into a pile the entire game. And there was a lot of question as to why they kept calling his number. Austin Eckler was playing. I don't know how healthy he was. Or
Yeah,
how,
Eckler, he had the ball out because Robinson, to your point, was not very effective.
Yeah, I don't know if Washington is going to be able to be versatile enough to withstand the onslaught of what Detroit has to them offensively. I think that Detroit, is here to prove a point. Is Montgomery coming back? Because I think that was one of the questions about.
That's Sunday, not Saturday.
Okay, so I don't think it matters. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is still able to tote the ball, to carry the load. Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think that one of the weaknesses of Washington's defense has been their secondary. People have been picking on St. Juste all season. And I think between is J-Mo healthy? That's another question I have, Lee. Jameson Williams, rather. Is he healthy? I believe he's healthy.
He's healthy. He played last game.
So a healthy J-Mo, healthy Amon-Ra, Sam Laporta. It's just too much. It's too much. And again, I think a comeuppance is coming, maybe. But I feel a little bit stronger about the Lions than I do about the Chiefs. So I'll put it that way. And so I think, I think the Lions win, and I think the Lions cover is my pick. So, all right, let's move on along to Sunday the 19th, 2 p.m. on NBC, or if you happen to be streaming on Peacock, you have the opportunity to watch the Los Angeles Rams, who did it for the city last week. And shout out to all those people out there, Altadena. I learned a lot about the history of that community over the week, and happy to know that things are kind of tailing off there. Hopefully, they're playing at Philadelphia in not Citizens Bank. What's the name? The Lincoln Financial Field.
Yep.
Yeah, Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles are favored by 6 points. Chris, who you like?
Well, okay, gotta make sure I please the collective this week. I know I disappointed them last week. So the weather forecast, and as the great Sidney Poitier, did we ever give him an honorary degree?
Yes, 1985.
Thank you, sir. The great Sidney Poitier, honorary class of 85.
Our brother.
As he so eloquently stated when asked by, I think it was Rob Reiner. So where do you come from? Philadelphia. So the weather in Philadelphia.
Rod Steiger.
Rob Steiger, thank you. Is slated to be, I think, about 32, 33 degrees. Is going to be snow. I've already gone through my warm weather dome teams, Sunbelt teams, and cold weather. The Los Angeles Rams, and their pronunciation comes. I learned it from a cartoon. Back Bugs Bunny, he would always say, "Oh, Los Angeles," but it was actually in homage to former Mayor Sam Yorty, who the great Tom Bradley defeated in 1973. But he was from the Midwest. He would always pronounce it Los Angeles, and so Los Angeles Rams are actually 4-0 when the temperature is 53 degrees or below.
Who were those teams?
They were the Seahawks at week 9.
I was there that weekend.
The Patriots.
Okay.
The Jets. And the 49ers when it was 53 degrees.
So the little sisters of the poor, but
yeah,
continue.
But the record is
right. Since
you are what your record says you
since
are.
Dr. Smith is going to make you know that the Jets and the Eagles, that ain't the same shade of green right there, and they don't fly the same way.
No, they do not.
The distinguished.
The Jets are on the ground right now.
They are definitively grounded.
Yes.
The distinguished. Oh, and by the way, and they've already played once in Philadelphia, and
they did.
It was not exactly close. I don't see what changes in a couple of days. The the proud alumnus of the University of Alabama and the Philadelphia Eagles get it done on Sunday.
Okay. All right, Joe.
I'm going with Philly. They're stronger. They're bigger. They're badder. They're better. They don't have a better quarterback. Um, they don't have a better quarterback, and but I think they're stronger at home. The weather, I think, does play a factor, despite it being less than 52 degrees. They'll be 4-1 with that. I think the weather will play a big factor here. I think they're playing with a great deal of emotion, understandably, last week against a team that we now realize was puffed up with air, and I think they got their manhoods taken from them by Detroit the week prior, and never recovered as a team. An entire team didn't recover. Like an entire team could not recover. So also we did not talk about the categorical devaluation of a player, like like the way it happened with Sam Darnold on Monday night. I mean, I've never seen. It's almost like Howard Dean. He's like Howard Dean right now. Yeah. I mean, I've never seen anything go down. Or Vince with the Wonderlick. You know how they try to do Vince with the Wonderlick. I've never seen, but at least that wasn't on the field.
The real orange crop came in.
Yes. Nice. Nice. The real orange crop came in. Right. Okay. 35. Okay. I still don't know what they meant. I've read copious notes.
We need one of them downstairs Wheeler Hall boys to explain it.
I agree. But back to this. I'm going with Philly. They're a team of destiny right now. I think that they've got the better running game. They have as strong receivers. They're pretty even with the receivers, and while they do have a better quarterback, Philly's got the better defense. And this is the time of year when you run and you play defense, and so and particularly in the cold.
Yeah.
So you go with Philly.
I couldn't say it better myself. I'm going with Philly as well. Running plus championship defense equals championships. And this team is hitting on all cylinders. Say what you will about Saquon sitting out that game. He looked great against Green Bay. I mean, he was out there toting the rock. He could have scored that last touchdown. I know a couple of people were upset. Shout out to my frat brother Sean Brown, who had him in a parlay and missed out on that parlay because he didn't score. But Saquon was toting that rock, and in the cold weather, you got to have that. You know what I mean? You talked about defense, Joe, and the past 2 years, Philadelphia has gone to the well where defense has lied in the SEC. I
was waiting on this.
Those great Bulldogs from Georgia.
I was waiting on this.
Hey, they're literally chomping at the bit out there. We had the unfortunate loss this past weekend. I think it was Nakobe Dean that went out.
Yeah, Nakobe Dean went down. Yeah,
unfortunately,
your fraternity brother.
He's and that's something to keep an eye on for sure. But I don't think it's stopping them this week. As much as the Rams, they look like a team that had a game plan and was well coached against the Vikings. Like, this is where Sean McVay showed the world, that, hey, man, I'm gonna win a game I'm not supposed to win, and they did that. They
sure did. They man, y'all picked him. Yeah, y'all picked him. Y'all picked him. So,
but Sean McVay got his one. That's his one. I think that the Eagles are just too good defensively. I think they had the best defense left in the playoffs, in my opinion. That defensive backfield with Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, just incredible. Those guys, I mean, I'm not a big fan of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, but he'll step up when he needs to. You know what I mean? I'm pretty open about my hatred of Saints and former Saints. I think I make it plain.
You do.
But
that you do.
They got a great defense. The Rams don't, I got a lot of respect for Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams. They've done excellent work this year. it ends in Philly. I think that the Bros at quarterback, Jalen Hurts, going to take them to the NFC Championship game yet again. My good cohort, my good friend, Dr. Angelica Garrett Wood, she'll be cheering on Philly to the ship, and be very happy at least for another week. And then who knows what'll happen next week, but I think Philly wins. Yeah. So finally, last game. And arguably, should be on paper at least the best game of the weekend. But I don't know. I think we'll have some things to say. The Baltimore Ravens go into the heart of Buffalo, the great industrial city of Buffalo, the Buffalo Bills, where they circle the wagons at Highmark Stadium, Rich Stadium, 6:30 p.m. on CBS/Paramount Plus. Joe, who you like?
Baltimore.
Yeah.
Big fun outside of Baltimore.
Big fun with the wretched.
Yeah, with the wretched. Big fun with the wretched. The wretched are coming to town, baby. The wretched are coming to are coming to Orchard Park.
Yeah.
Orchard Park, Highmark, whatever the heck, and a little tiny stadium, and they're going to make it work, and it's going to be. I think they bring their traveling show.
Mm-hmm.
I think it worked. They're not afraid of the cold. They're not afraid of the weather. Teams know each other well.
Mm-hmm.
The worst part of this whole thing is, and this is something Peyton mentioned the other night. They've already voted. So the vote is in. It's a PricewaterhouseCoopers has the vote right now, right?
Yeah.
So I know you like that, Chris. So it's already in. But and something Peyton said, he said co-MVP. He did no. I'm just.
I mean, he would know.
He said it.
Yeah.
He said it like on more than one. He said at least 2 or 3 times the other night. But then he said Brady's got. I don't know if you watched the whole way through because it was a bad game. But I don't know if you watched the whole way through. And Brady, he said, Eli said Brady's got a vote. He said, how does Brady get a vote? How does Brady have a vote? It was just brothers talking. He's like, how does Brady have a vote? We got to find that out. How do I get a vote? How do I get a vote? But we were sitting there talking about that. But nonetheless, I do think Baltimore goes in. I think they're strong. I didn't. They call Josh Superman. He wasn't Superman last week.
Mm-mm.
He didn't have to be. Okay.
Yeah.
But he wasn't Superman last week. He was competent man. He wasn't a game manager. He's somewhere between competent man and game manager last week. Or
still glazed him.
Oh yeah, because he won the game. He won the game. And they were the one that everybody's like, you might get caught out there with this. I mentioned it, but I'm going to go with Baltimore. I'm going to go with Lamar. I believe in Lamar. Always, whenever 8 is back there, they've always got a shot. Always got a chance. Will I be hurt if Buffalo wins? No, but I do believe that they're a better team, and I do believe that they've got a better quarterback who will play better than than Josh, who's had an exceptional season. And we're very fortunate to have witnessed a season like this where you have these two just outstanding talents as well.
Yeah.
Chris, I'm going with the Ravens.
Okay. And by the way, I didn't mention Ravens are favored by 1.5. So there's that. Because I know a certain contingent of our listenership, they need to know these things. Okay.
Yes.
Chris, who you like?
So Joe, brother Joe already stole my weather point here, so there's no sense in me mentioning
no weather being
from Yulee, the pride of Yulee, Florida, and Lamar Jackson being the pride of Pompano Beach, Florida. Josh Allen being a California boy himself, but all that Joe is taking care of that for me.
Thank you.
They played in week 4, and Baltimore beat them 35-10. So all this notion of maybe they should there have been suggestions that this should be the deciding factor or whatever MVP vote.
Already voted.
Baltimore has already beat them by 20 and 5 points this season.
20-5.
So
20-5.
I don't care if they're playing at MNC. I don't care if they're playing at High Mark, All A's, Mount Everest, or Apex. Shout out to Apex Magazine from back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jeff.
You know, but
Where's
and a
Jeff?
very special shout. I want to put a nice bow and wrap this whole discussion up before I make my very obvious pick of the birds. But the quarterback's coach of the Ravens is the first winning quarterback of the BCS era, one Maurice T. Martin.
Oh,
Okay.
well then,
So-
of course.
Baltimore,
Say no more.
and it's not even going to be close.
Okay.
Ooh.
All right. Everybody's on Baltimore. And so am I.
Okay.
I'm pretty solidly on the Baltimore bandwagon here. I don't think that this is going to be particularly close for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons was pointed out by you guys astutely. They already have handled that business in week 4. The weather's not going to be a factor for Baltimore. Baltimore's a cold weather team too. You know what I mean? They're used to the elements. Their defense looks a lot stronger than Buffalo's defense does right now, especially. They've turned it around. I think there was a lot of concern about them early in the season. A lot of concern about Justin Tucker too. Justin's fine. I think Justin Tucker's going, with this Justin Tucker versus Tyler Bass, that's a wash. I think coaching, it's light years ahead. John Harbaugh's a much better coach in my eyes than Sean McDermott. Sean McDermott's made some questionable decisions this year, especially. They kept mentioning the fact that Buffalo had beaten both Kansas City and who did they beat? Buffalo beat Kansas City and Detroit. And so thereby, conveniently leaving out the fact that they had lost to Baltimore earlier.
Yeah, it's like why?
Yeah,
it's just so whack, man. I'm sorry, it's just so whack, man.
Yeah, I just, I think there's the obvious slant that we've implied and mentioned directly, where a lot of these people want Josh Allen to win.
Take it.
Yeah, I mean,
take the MVP.
That's
take
right.
the MVP.
That's right, and that's
Enjoy
how
that.
I feel about it. That's how I feel about it, man. Like,
Steve Nash. How's that feel?
Yeah.
Steve Nash.
I did forget to mention now the one advantage Buffalo might have / does have / might have, now hopefully Baltimore has gone and practiced with like car headlights, like the practice scene, and remember the Titans because that dim 40-watt light bulb lighting they have up there.
Yeah.
It's just a horrible place.
Yeah, I mean, they have a true home field advantage in that sense. You know what I mean? But I should say also, Derrick Henry, man. Like,
yeah, come on. What do we? Come on. This is what he's here for.
And this is no shade to who I actually feel like had the better game last week, James Cook of the University of Georgia.
He balled.
He balled out. You know what I mean? And I don't think that it opened up quite a bit for Josh Allen to do, but I think that Baltimore has something for that Buffalo run offense. I think the Baltimore run defense is stout. I think that the versatility of Kyle Hamilton out there, like it's I think that Baltimore is ready for their next close up. And I think they make it to a second straight AFC championship and a rematch, as it were, with the Kansas City Chiefs, at least for my picks. I know you guys are picking something different, but
we did.
I think that we, if I'm correct, we'll see a rematch of last year, and I think it goes a little differently. But anyway, I'm putting the cart before the horse. Let's, we'll get there. Hopefully, hopefully we get some exciting games. I really, I'm in it for the action, baby. Like what my man saying in Heat. For me, the action is the juice.
The action is the juice.
I want to see some entertaining, some great close games. I'd be excited if all those games actually, had an interesting fourth quarter, and things were, maybe decided on a couple of kicks or, a game-winning drive of some sort. That's what I'm excited for. But we'll see.
Chirino, Michael Chirino.
Torino. He was badass, man. But I mean, he became very unlikable when he grabbed up that little girl. That was
It was a little rough. It was a little rough there.
the rough, the rough, the rough. All right, so our picture in the book. I give it a shout out all the time, but I'm gonna continue to because like this podcast is a labor of love. We don't have a producer. We don't have like not
we do.
not an NFL
you're
Bobby Wagner, but
you're the producer.
but you create these graphics every week, Joe, man. That are
thank
man.
you. Thank you.
Hey, those graphics. Hey, look, hard work goes into that, and they popped up in my memories because we've been doing this long enough now. Where
yeah,
I see them pop up in the memories. I'm like, man, Joe doing some strong work here, man.
Thank you.
So I really do appreciate. This is a team effort, man. We pushed through technical difficulties, through all of it.
Bio breaks and such.
Yeah, man. To give the people what they want.
Got to give the people what they want.
Got to give the people what they want. And Chris, taking time out of your busy schedule, a barrister of your caliber, we really do appreciate the research that you put into this. For those, I don't know if we discussed it on the air or not. Did we talk about the fact that Chris is going to come in and we'll do a movie together too? Did we say that on the air, or did we say?
I think we did say it on air.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I'm super excited about that, man.
Yeah.
Excited about guys. We're gonna pick up this momentum from these picks and keep going. And give you some good old fashioned Open Tabs podcast discussions about films and music and the like. If you'll indulge me, Joe, I've been listening to what started out as 60 songs that defined the 90s.
Right.
Now it's turned into the 180 songs, including the songs from the aughts.
Okay.
Man, like I tell you, I was skeptical going in. It's awesome.
It's on Ringer. It's on the Ringer, right?
It's on the Ringer. Yeah, it's Rob Harvilla.
Harvilla. Okay.
Yeah, he's a former music critic, or I guess
I'll
still is a music critic.
I'll start it. Are they half hour? How long are they?
They're about an hour or so each, but
per song.
Per song, but he splits it between like kind of building up to it.
Wow.
And then he does an interview with someone.
I can't wait to hear that.
Unfortunately, one of the ones I was looking forward to was Black or White with Michael Jackson, because he talked about that song. But he had one of my least favorite people with him for the interview. I think you can guess who that person might be. Wesley Morris.
I knew it was Wesley.
But I would give Wesley.
He's their resident. If it's not Wesley, they've got like 3 black people there.
But I will tell you, he also brings in Shea Serrano when appropriate.
Okay,
Shea Serrano be coming in with the heat, and
they got 3 black men. That's what I'm saying. Like they left. They lost me because we already know. I haven't even heard it, but I already know where Wesley's coming from. Yeah, because he can't help himself. But when they did, was it Boomerang?
Mm-hmm.
And they did it so horribly. It was Van, him, I think it was Rachel. I think it was Rachel. I have to go back and look at that one, but they were so disappointing. Yeah. And maybe it was a Spike Lee movie, but no, I think it was Boomerang. I think they did Boomerang, and that's when I was like, okay. But Wesley's he always takes too long to answer, like I'm doing now, and he gets off, and it frustrates Bill to no end about his tangents, and they usually come right back to where to the middle there. Back in the middle with you. Yeah, I'm sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
Yeah, speaking of mentioning music of the 90s, I was just having a conversation recently about anniversary music, partially inspired by you, Joe, because you always say, "Oh, these songs are turning, those benchmark years."
Mm-hmm.
And I was just thinking, and it's like, yeah, what was out in 2000? And then, doing basic, that is literally 25 years ago. But then I'm thinking, when I was a kid, and you're talking about a song from 25 years ago, when I was a kid, I mean, you're looking at the 60s, mid 60s, they were calling that oldies. So now I'm like, it blows my mind to think a college student right now is somewhere thinking of Aaliyah and Timberland, Drew Hill as oldies or old school.
Sage.
That's absolutely oldies and old school.
Sage is that's old school for my daughter's 10. So that's all that music is old school for her. I mean, there was a
Yeah.
moment in the summer, probably because of TikTok, when it was Backstreet Boys, "I Want It That Way." She was like really into "I Want It That Way," right?
Hmm.
And I said, it was summer of '99
Mm-hmm.
when that song dominated TRL. Okay, every day at 5 or 4, whatever time TRL came on, it was that was the number one video. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now I know it's payola, right? Now I know it's
Mm-hmm.
because Duel of the Fates from episode one,
Hmm.
you know, of Star Wars was the nut song of the day leading up to the release of the film.
Yeah.
Do you really believe that people voted? Now they might have wanted to see the video because they had clips of the movie, but that was the number one song? No, of course not. So, but it's
Absolutely
wild
not.
to your point, and that's now a 25-year-old movie too. But it's interesting to your point about what was a quote unquote considered an oldie, because when I got to Howard in '93, Motown, all that, the Motown stuff was
Mm-hmm.
that was oldie, or we were listening to Jimi Hendrix music from the '60s. So in the
Yes.
'80s and late '80s, anything Motown. One of the biggest soundtracks of the '80s was the Big Chill soundtrack,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which is oldies.
which is oldies from the '60s, from the
Hmm.
mid to late '60s. A lot of Motown, but other music too. And it's so interesting how cyclical that is. And it's also interesting when you look at just how quick 25 years can go by, because your class reunion, Chris, actually both of you have a class reunion next year, but for one for high school, one for college. But next year. And it's so wild how quick 25 years will
Yeah.
just it's popping up. I was going to say, though, one of the things that's killing me about new media saying that this song is a '95 song. It's not a '95 song, or it's like a '94 song. Like I cannot, oh my gosh, I cannot, or it's not a such and such song. It's a this year song. So I'm saying that to say, so when these things say these are 30 years old, I saw one the other day. It was like Boys to Men, Water Runs Dry. No, two came out in like October, okay, of '94. I was at Howard University. We were on top of all these things because we're in college,
Mm-hmm.
nothing else to do. Maybe the single was in '95, but that's like a '94 song, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Um, it's a very interesting. So I always look at these things, and I'm typing. This is not a '94. Calm down, like calm down.
You are a stickler for those things, though.
Right. So like the Chronic was released in '92, but it's
Mhm.
really a '93 album.
Right.
Okay.
It hit the zeitgeist then.
Right. Doggy Style was released in like Thanksgiving week, '93.
Yeah. Yeah. But
But
it's really a 94.
it's really a '94 album. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like these interesting things. But I understand when they're doing like songs, they're literally talking about like probably the release of a single, and all they're doing is looking at a thing. They weren't alive. They
Sure.
don't know.
Sure.
But to say, I think, what was it? It was like, oh, Waiting to Exhale is 30 years old. Baby, Waiting to Exhale came out in December of '95. What are you talking? It is January.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no.
So
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
I sit back and I cringe. But to your greater point, Chris, it is pretty startlingly remarkable that music that I still listen to. Now, I've been on a yacht rock thing really since the yacht rock documentary, since the Ringer, since Bill Simmons yacht rock documentary. I've been pretty much exclusively listening to Heart pretty much every day by
Ah, nice.
By Kenny Loggins,
Yeah.
every single day,
Without
at least 5 times, like at least 5 times a
Nice.
day. And and having said that though, but I've been pretty much listening to that nonstop. And then Sage had to do something for it was something the other day, and she was had to sing something, and then I don't know how all of a sudden I got to some Wayne, and it was Let the Beat Build, and I was like, oh, I forgot about this for a moment. And then I'm thinking about summer '08, and I'm thinking about we were both living in Washington, Chris. Good
Fun
when we were
times.
kings.
One of the hottest summers in the history of the world. Okay.
Literally in picture.
Yeah, hotter than John Adams and Jefferson in Washington
Yes.
of 1776. Hotter than that.
Mm.
Hotter than July.
Yeah.
but no, it's music is so beautiful and such a wonderful thing, and we're fortunate enough to have it at our fingertips.
Yeah.
And so much of it at our fingertips. What do you do with your MP3s? Like, what do you do with them?
So that's one of the things they talked about. And so the episode that made me want to talk about this, they did it, and not to throw too much spoiler on it because I know you're gonna listen to it. They did the episode of De La Soul's Saturdays, a roller skating jam day Saturdays.
Nice.
And ostensibly he just talked about the history of De La, period. And of course, what came up was in the time it was recorded, it had not been released. Their
Right.
catalog
There were
had not been released.
right. So everything I have like full albums on my phone from the MP3s.
Right. And so his
And
interview,
I forgot that they were there until the other
his
day.
interview was with Open Mike Eagle, who
Mhm.
had done the previous podcast. That podcast, what had happened was with Prince Paul, which if you've not listened to that, you absolutely have to listen to it.
Okay.
But at any rate, they talked about the fact that, like, I mean, honestly, if people did not have these CDs, they couldn't listen to them. But moreover,
there's no place to go get it.
Moreover, now most people don't even have a device in their home where they can even listen to a CD, if you even had a CD.
I bought a boombox for Keitha so she could listen to her CDs the other day. I mean, I
There
bought
you
it like
go.
for Mother's Day a few years ago.
And I get clowned so much for my physical media because I keep all this physical media.
You do that.
But
yes.
like my Blu-ray player will play audio CDs. They came to find out a PS5 doesn't play audio CDs.
I didn't know that. I was about to ask. Does it do
Right.
it?
That's wild, isn't it? But so,
wow.
Like, you know,
it's so crazy. That was the sound, man. Like the CD was the sound.
Yeah.
Right? Like it was the ultimate in sound in music, right?
If you had the stability, like the shock, what do they call it? The anti-shock?
the anti-stability thing. I had that on my my Discman. Christmas 1990. Good Lord.
I bought
that Sony Discman with a radio.
The greatest Discman I ever bought. I bought from Lakon Bashua. Okay. Now peep this. Lakon Bashua, great Lakon Bashua. If you're a Morehouse man, you know Lakon Bashua. He's hey. It was an MP3/CD player, so it played MP3s on CD.
No, well, you were the first person I knew that had. You were the king of MP3s. Like Cal. So for our listening audience, if you're this far in the podcast,
hey, we love you and we thank you.
Yeah, thank God for you. But you already know that Calvin was very, very. He was on the front lines. And
a lot of viri. It wasn't the other stuff that you get viruses from. It was my MP3s.
Yes, well, a lot. He was an early adopter of MP3s and would have mixed CDs. And it was. I remember that was just a foreign concept to me of what it was. So we had these Macs in the Maroon Tiger office. So you couldn't download MP3s to the Mac. You could download the MP4s. So you couldn't use Napster. They had something called Maxter. So then you used Maxter to download the music. And I remember Faraji killed a computer, just killed it with all the music he did. I mean, just destroyed a brand new Power Mac G3.
Yes,
with all his albums, all his playlists, and one of it was called the Ice Blue Sex Folder. And I'll never forget.
God bless Faraji Whalen.
It was like we treated it like it was our.
Everybody pretty much had a profile.
Yeah, you pretty much did have a profile on there, and you pretty much did have your the computer where you like to sit, But you had your music in there, and then we had a burner, and I didn't understand why we had a burner. Jonathan Howard very astutely realized that this was the new medium and new media that where we were going, and because when we bought those Macs, I remember they didn't have floppy drives. And we were like, well, what? How are we
going to save our article?
How am I going to save my article? Like what? Now, it didn't even occur to us. Just save the thing and email it. You could email it. It didn't even occur to us to go paperless.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad saying something to me once before I got to Morehouse, saying, the next wave, son, is to go paperless. Like you all are gonna. This is like he's saying this like 96, 95, 96.
Very prescient.
Yeah, he was like, it's going to go paperless. He's like, because in the airport, in the hospital, we are starting to use imaging to scan documents because there's literally no more space. There's no more space. So he said this is a whole industry that's going to have to change and shift to be able to keep records.
And he always spoke about vision.
He did. He does.
Yeah.
And so he does.
Vision without planning is hallucination.
It is. But yeah, go right. But to that end, to that end, we didn't even know, right? And then within a year or two, we were on the thumb drives,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
right? So we were on the thumb drives.
Yeah.
We hadn't even gone past the CDs, and then eventually people had the USB
Because
in
the
their
zip
car.
drives weren't worth a hoot.
No, but we had the zip. We had the zip.
We had the big boy zip.
The big
drive.
boy
Yeah,
zip drive.
the thicker
Yeah,
three and a half.
We had those in the Tiger.
I will say Archer Hall spared no expense, brother.
none. whatever the top of the line was, and no one ever questioned it. What's so crazy now working at Morehouse? I gotta get a Ticonderoga pencil without having to talk to somebody about why I want this pencil. But as a student, we're buying Power Mac G3s, G4s, a 30-inch screen, and no one says a word. Like no one says a word. Like, all right, fine, you got the money, spend it. But to that point, it's so interesting to have watched all those different versions. Our parents would say the same with 45. Well, I guess it was only 45s and LPs,
8-tracks,
and then 8-tracks. Then there's cassettes.
Mm-hmm.
To your point, the boombox I got Keitha, it's just on the other, I keep pointing over here, it's on the other side of this wall. The boombox I got Keitha it's a CD with the tape. You know,
nice.
And I mean, you can go to Amazon and you could buy this right now. I tried to buy a VCR the other day. They have definitely kicked that up. They're realizing the scarcity
the VHS player
of the VHS player. Yes, of the VHS player. They have definitely kicked that price. I was like, I should be able to get this for $25 because there was a time when they priced all the way down, and then now it has gone all the way. It has gone back up.
Yeah.
Okay, it's really kind of interesting. When Keith and I first started dating in 2012, she had a 6-disc CD DVD player. There was a stereo. There was a receiver.
Yep. I had one. Yeah. My buddy Jeff put pistons on it.
Oh, wow. Wow. Of course. That's so nice of him. You know, I mean, it wasn't the Iowa. I'm just like, like a nice Sony.
For your home entertainment system.
Yeah, your home entertainment system. I remember my dad had the Pioneer. So it was the magazine, baby. It was 6.
Oh man, I used to love that magazine.
You
put
that
like a Glock.
Put that bad boy in. Those are your 6.
Yeah. You rolling with them.
Yeah.
Like if you had them in your car, like the 10, that's your 10.
Wait,
you know what I mean?
Or when they first started doing that, but they would put the magazine in the trunk.
Yeah, that's where it was.
Yeah.
That's he had a Lexus, so it was on the trunk. I could still see it. I could smell it. The smell of his car was always new because we never really could eat in there. I could see. But I was always like, hey, Dad, can we listen to this? No, man. He changed it for Love Deluxe. So he bought that car in 1991. He bought it in 91. Love Deluxe had to come out he bought it in 93. I was a senior in high school. And he took something out and put Love Deluxe in. But it was
I gotta know what Dr. Carlos had in his
Best of Luther, Best of Love. Best of Luther, Best of Love. There was a Oleta Adams Circle of One.
Uh-huh.
There was a smooth jazz album by a guy named Sam Riney. And I bought it. I found it on Amazon for like $3 and I sent it to him. And he was like, man, I don't know where to play this. I was like, oh. Okay. But Sam Riney, Ray Charles, Would You Believe? It was an album that he put out in like 90 or 91. Mm-hmm. And then I can't think of the 6th one right now. I can't think of the 6th one. But then he took something. I think he took Sam Riney out and put in and Love Deluxe was there. And then
spell Riney.
Riney is Sam Riney. I could see the cover. It's like a khaki cover. I think that was the name of it. I go back.
It.
Talk
to me.
Yes, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. It was so cool. Okay. Best of Luther, Best of Love was this 1 and 2.
Nice.
That was nice. So you went from 1. Well, that was the end of the album actually. The House is Not a Home. That was the end of the whole thing. From 1 through 20 and that. But there's no song better than him and Greg Hines.
Oh yeah.
So
there's nothing better than love.
Nothing better than love.
What in the world could you ever be thinking of?
I don't know. What in the world could you ever be thinking? It is better by far. It's a great video too. It's an amazing video.
Chris, you on that? Do you know that?
Chris, you should watch it tonight.
You should
You should
watch
watch.
that video.
You
Yeah.
should watch Luther Vandross, Gregory Hines.
Oh, yeah.
They're they're walking through Luther. He calls his name.
Yes.
He says, "Oh, Luther."
In fact, I just set it up for my sister to watch the other night.
the
Right. In
documentary?
fact, I went over there right before the snowstorm
Oh, wow.
last
So
week.
so
to
you
make sure
stayed.
she could watch it.
So you
Yeah,
stay
so
with her.
She loves me extra right now.
I'm sure she does. It's a
Good
good
man.
brother. Could be a good brother.
Good brother. I wanted to make sure that we also, gave a shout out to those that had that weather. Chris, you endured that weather. How much snow did y'all get?
I think we had about 4 inches here.
Yeah.
And
Y'all
unlike
got 4?
About 3, 4. Yeah.
unlike last year, it actually warmed up, but the officials were around here patting themselves on the back, and the other more colorful euphemisms say, "Oh, we did an excellent job." It was 45 degrees 2 days later.
the weather did an excellent job. Nah, yeah, we still got some snow on the ground, but it
we do
cleared up
too.
pretty quick.
And all these shaded areas, it's kind of wild. That
Yeah.
they're- Like in front of Gloucester right now,
Yeah.
the trees are so big and everything. There's definitely snow out in front of Gloucester. There's snow on the King Chapel Plaza.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it's like
Pleasant.
ice. It's ice.
Wow.
But it's like ice. So you can't like pick it up and throw it. But
Right.
you know what I'm saying? But it's definitely, but everything is off the field. The football field is, because it's it's turf anyway. So it just,
I figured that Pleasant gets direct sun.
yeah, direct, yes. And so
Yeah.
and then it drains out to the drainage system, which works now. The drainage system as well.
All right. Any other last thoughts before we depart?
No, not personally.
I'll be like Charles Barkley on Inside the Cal, if I can give a shout out,
Please do.
you mentioned one of our sponsors, as always, shout out to Joe Carlos Photography. But
Thank you.
Reese, I know you don't know me from Adam's House Cat, but if you could make some like C. Lee Collective shirts, just give me a cut of the first 10. If you sell more than 10, you can keep everything after that. I just want to see if they actually sell.
I want to know
let's
where
see
they're
what-
going.
I want to see. I would be highly tickled if somebody's walking around at homecoming with the C. Lee Collective shirt.
That sounds like a challenge to me.
I'm sure there are. I'm sure there. I don't know if you want to ask for that to be done, brother. For the Sealy Collective,
Yeah, man.
But I
There'd be some fur flying.
yeah, it'd be a lot of fur flying. But I wish you the best on that, partner. You let me know how that works out, okay?
Hey, Joe, I want to ask you real quick, and Chris, you too.
Look at that one. Look at that one.
Yeah, hey, that was a good one. That was
Yes,
yeah. I watched it in comfy confines of 1865 Loch Lomond Trail.
Loch Lomond.
Loch Lomond.
Look at that
Loch
one.
Lomond for those uninitiated.
34
Oh, yeah.
right there.
Yeah, there you go. Real
That
quick.
was in an icy Nashville.
Yeah, that
No.
was.
That's
No,
where
that was
Atlanta was.
in Atlanta, but
roots
it was
as
actually
well.
yeah. The Titans.
Or yes, yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
So
It
real
was
quick
in Atlanta,
though,
but
It was
the Titans.
freezing in Atlanta that day.
it was awful.
God,
Ice storm.
it was
Terrible.
horrible.
The Boy King.
Mhm.
Did they showed that in Dallas, correct?
Yeah, Little
Okay.
Boy King.
Did they show it in Huntsville?
I think it was on WG, but it wasn't on a Huntsville local network.
You can watch
It
it.
was
On,
on
it's on
cable.
YouTube right now.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean in
It's-
general, growing up.
For
Yeah.
for the longest, I swore up and down because of Monica Kaufman's involvement and everything else that I thought it was just a strictly an Atlanta thing.
Oh
I
no,
thought
Mm-mm.
that
no. It was on.
there's-
It was on national TV.
Yeah.
Little boy king, keep your dream
yeah,
in the heart. Something like that. I knew that. I was singing that for
Yeah.
years.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, I always like because it has popped up on my little timeline here. I want to make sure that everybody within the earshot, make sure if you've never seen The Boy King, which I can't imagine you haven't, but if you haven't,
Yeah, he was on the
Watch.
front. Remember, he's got in
Yeah,
the fight
he's-
he was at the front when the kids were on the street and
with the little fox fur, they
yeah,
tricked
little
the
fox fur. They
neighbor.
tricked with his grandmother's fur, or
Yeah,
his mama's fur. Yeah, I remember that.
yeah. And
Vividly.
one day we
They
will
shot
have to go
on
to church no more.
location. They shot
Yeah.
on location.
Oh yeah.
That's
All these
what was
places.
it. I mean, you have no idea the specter of Atlanta. It was a thing. So I remember. I'll never forget. I'll never forget this. My mother would say, "Oh, he's from Atlanta. They're from Atlanta. You know, Atlanta." They say it in a way like it was
Like it's a
this.
destination, like Oz.
No, it still is. It still is for several people. But I'm just saying, the way my mother would speak with such reverence about Atlanta, and it was just like black kids from Atlanta. Like I remember we were at a friend's house, and and another a girl who we grew up with, her dad went to Morehouse, Levi Curry, and Tasha Curry was over. We were all over this house, and they brought their friend or cousin or somebody from Atlanta. And my mother said, "Oh, they from Atlanta, they it's and so I just remember how the casual cool and ease this guy had, and I was like, man, this is like he's got a different like vibe to him, man. He's from Atlanta, right? And so then we visited in '92, and it was just so different than Dallas because not only was it just so black, but it was just so accessible to blacks.
Yeah.
And of course, I stayed off Wesley Chapel in a big old house where my aunt and cousin lived, and my aunt taught at Morehouse. So Atlanta for me was my dad. I don't know why we're talking about this. My dad we're talking about Little Boy King, but
Yeah.
my dad said, "I'm getting a Cadillac." We going to Atlanta. We were renting a Cadillac, so he
Nice.
flew in to Hartsfield, and he picks up the white Cadillac, and we drive out to Wesley Chapel or whatever, and do whatever, and then come back, and we come in with my aunt, and we walked around Morehouse. Me and my brother went to her class. She taught English and had an office in Brawley, and we went to her class, one of her classes, and then like she had other classes or whatever. So we were like, all right, we're good. So we just walked around campus like all day.
Yeah.
And like
Nice.
no one stopped us, no
Right.
one bothered us, no one. We went to the calf.
You had to lay the land.
We did, and I knew some guys that were there. It was cool. It was this different thing. But then we went to underground. I'd never seen anything like that before. Of course, I've been on the riverfront in New Orleans was similar, but I'm talking about underground like '92 where the Gap was there and it was vibrant and there was like all these restaurants and all this stuff. It's like this is what this Atlanta is that you keep talking about. Look at all these black people, all these people doing this upwardly mobility. I mean, I just couldn't fathom what it was. That this place existed, and coming from Dallas where there's like one person doing something or two people over here, or something like that, or everybody has to live on this side of town. Everybody black got to live down here, which is fine down here for the most part, but everybody got to live down here. It was just a total different thing. So it's so funny.
Gotcha.
When Little Boy King came out, they were like, it's on location. Then I went to the house. I was like, this is where Little Boy King was shot. Oh my God, Little Boy King was filmed here.
All the doors are impossibly tiny.
I was blown away at the size of the house.
Yeah.
But it was a big house at the time.
It's a big house, but the doors are tiny.
Yes, it's very. And I remember they tell the story. He jumped up so high, he hit his head when he found out it was a boy. I remember that story when I took the.
And that could really happen.
To your point. To your point. But yes, but now I'm here. It's still a thing.
Indeed.
Yes, indeed.
Well,
I love when Calvin says indeed. It's time. We need G. Smith to play the guitar. The G. Smith.
Hey, y'all, this will be up in records. Hey, man, the images. Hey, Joe, I see what I see. Hey, man, the image is in my my mailbox right here.
You already got the images. Yeah.
Hey, man. So with that being said, guys, we appreciate each and every person, set of ears who listens. Apple, Anchor, Spotify, YouTube, watching us on YouTube. We got these backgrounds. We do things intentionally for y'all. Wherever you listen, however long you listen, we appreciate you. If you've made it to this point, especially, we the collective, thank you.
Hey, Reese, put it on a t-shirt, man.
Reese, put it on a t-shirt for C. Lee, man. All right, Reese, I know Reese has feelings about certain things like this, but I think he'll accommodate.
Yes, he does. That's part of the fur that will fly.
That will ensure my presence at homecoming, just to see what fur may potentially. So, at any rate,
Stay away. Stay
We
away from
appreciate
that.
you guys. We'll be back for our predictions for the championship games next week, and you know, as things get increasingly more exciting,
They will.
and we'll see y'all. So until the next time, we are the Open Tabs Podcast. We appreciate you guys.